We're going. I like the aggressive. Dude, let me drop the great car. You can go tell all those guys up there they can suck in.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing? You gotta be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
It's so nice to see you at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Jump. Coming to light.
Too low. Come back on him.
That one's incredible.
Dude, nobody better. Nobody. Hell yeah, guys.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to NWP tonight here on DannyBTalks. And we are switching around to everyone's position. Thank you, producer Jarrett, for that. Welcome in, guys. We just had the first NASCAR race of the season, the exhibition, the clash, the cookout clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. No, it's not dominated by the namesake driver, Alex Bowman. It was dominated by his teammate, Chase Elliott, this weekend.
I thought you were going to say, no, it was Gray Galding who took control.
I'm telling you, man, we could have literally had Bowman, Gray, 1-2 if he was still racing in Cup, and we could have put the fix in.
There's somebody that's at home like Obi-Wan. Gray Galding. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
You remember Gray Galding used to be the Krispy Kreme man.
Yeah. But Danny, what do we got on tap tonight? There should be a good amount. There's some I got gutter comments for the first time this year.
Whoa. We got a fun show. We got a
special guest joining us in about half an hour as well.
Yep. If you have ever wondered what it takes to get logos and fun stuff on your favorite driver's cars, you're going to want to tune in to our guest here today. But before we can do that, let's get into the clash. Chase Elliott. I mean, I don't think I recall a race where he's looked that dominant in control in quite a while.
It's been quite some time. I've talked about this a couple times this week, but Chase Elliott is trending in a very, very positive direction. I know this is just an exhibition race. It's not just this race, though. It's how he finished 2024. We know he had a great average finish last year. He had this best in the series, but he only had the one win early in the season. The thing is, late in the year, even though he was, facing playoff elimination and then wasn't even a part of the championship four, he led laps. A lot of laps in all three of the final races last season. Kicks off 2025 leading 170 at Bowman Gray and getting the win. Like, we saw the consistency the last few races going back to the end of last season. The winning speed seems to have returned for Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson. And if that's the case, you're looking at a very formidable team. Remember, before he broke his leg skiing, he'd been to 3 straight championship fours. So if the 9 team is hit their stride to start the year, watch out. This is another championship contender that we really didn't talk about much last year.
Well, I find it interesting that you say that, you say it's just an exhibition race. Well, I pointed out in my video I put up yesterday that, oddly enough, if you go back, Logano in 22, Truex in 23, and Hamlin last year, well, oddly enough, a flat short track has proven to be a good, I talk about how it was at, the LA Memorial Coliseum, basically the same kind of track. Those drivers who won that race went on to have good seasons. Logano, 22, won a championship. Truex, 23, won a regular season championship. Hamlin last year won a lot of races last year. So this actually, surprisingly enough, gives us a good idea, especially as we get later into it, how important flat tracks are to your program. Now, I also pointed out, even though they didn't win, Penske, Blaney 2nd, Logano 4th, Cindric 7th. Yeah. They're still going to be good on the tracks that matter this year.
And I don't want to go too much just in case when it comes to going down the path of gleaning too much from this race. But think about Elliott, and I've been saying it. I said it last year because there was this narrative forming up that Chase Elliott has just been a scrub ever since the injury. He's just been awful. And no, he was not winning as much as his teammates when you have William Byron and Kyle Larson as your teammates. And then Alex Bowman pops up and wins big races and kills tracks. Of course, you're probably going to get shoved a little bit under the radar, even if you are the most popular driver. But if he's able to add the winning with the amount of consistency that he's been able to put together for the most part of his career, and the winning that since 2018 until that injury was the norm, I see no reason why Chase Elliott can't compete for a championship, why he can't, be a contender week in and week out again, because I think they were that close last year. It takes a while to come back from an injury. It doesn't matter if it's, stick and ball sports, motorsports, it's going to take time to get better. We've seen it with back injuries, leg injuries, you name it. And something I want to point out with Elliott, obviously this doesn't go officially towards the win totals you'll see in the all-time wins list and all of that. But there's only a couple drivers that are actually still racing that are ahead of Chase Elliott on the wins list that race full time. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson. That's it. All these other drivers winning a ton of races that have been around as long as he has or nearly as long, he's ahead of. The next point win is win 20. He's top 50 all time already this early on in his career, even with not winning a couple races early on, even with a winless year that was down, even with one win last year. So this weird narrative that's formed that Chase Elliott has just been washed, I don't get it. I think that it's just part of the ascension.
Well, it's weird too, because and not saying Kyle Busch hasn't had good seasons since 2022, but we can kind of pinpoint the start of the next gen era as being like, ooh, Kyle Busch doesn't really suit his driving style as well. You can see the numbers have kind of teetered off the last few years. Chase Elliott in 2022 won 5 races. So it's not a next gen issue. It was just a mixture of injury, just not finding the right balance. It was just, let's just call it a slump. But it seems like the last few races, they're coming out of that slump, and that's dangerous if another Hendrick car is at full speed.
Speaking of full speed, Ty Gibbs went a little full speed this weekend, showing us something that
there he goes.
Like
the shadow.
So I remember, so it's odd enough, Justin Haley was who he went into to take flight like that. Justin Haley also had something, I think it was in one of the heats where he was kind of bouncing all over the place somehow. And I'm like, what have we figured out about this car all of a sudden this weekend that if you hit it the right angle, which I guess Ross Chastain about near flipped at the Texas All-Star race in its first season off of Kyle Busch doing something similar. So apparently you can ramp these cars now, we're figuring out.
Yeah, I've noticed that a little bit over time, and people are like, is this a problem that's coming up? And I'm like, I don't think it's like a huge issue or anything. I just, in the moment when that happened, Riss was on the other wall for me, and she just hears me go, holy shit, he effing took flight. Like, because
it was shocking because they're going like 30 miles an hour. And so you don't expect the car to launch.
But I mean, granted, these cars are very different than street cars. But I mean, even with street cars, like you can see cars going even slower than that can like get up on their side or something. But I think it has something to do. And maybe this is me just shooting it out into the ether. It might have something to do with composite bodies and the way they kind of almost bounce off each other too. Plus the flat on the back, if any of them get any kind of, I guess up in the air and brush against it, it's just going to push that car. Like maybe that's it. I mean, that's like the biggest change outside that you see with the car.
Well, I guess last year Tyler Reddick kind of had like that slow speed rollover randomly. What was that, Vegas, where that happened?
Yeah, that's right.
He kind of just like suddenly was just sliding, all of a sudden just kind of dug into the grass a little bit, and then he went over. So there's something's different.
I'm just seeing in the chat there, some of them are putting in what song it was, and there's like "Jump" by Aerosmith.
I say he just heard Freebird and he lost control.
And then Blue Jimmy brings up it's by Van Halen. I just was like, set that
real-time fact checking.
There you go.
Literal community notes on NWP.
I love that. And then there's Jump Around.
AB King said Ty was auditioning for Days of Thunder 2.
It was a pretty strong audition, honestly, putting the monster in Monster Truck.
I love how you can also see the people who are like, 10 seconds behind, so they don't see the payoff to the joke. Type in, here's the fact check, and then it's like, hey, the joke is paying off, guys. But no, I mean that alone was, I think, worth the price of admission for me. Like that alone was worth coming here just to be like, it almost the entire way up in those races had led up to that moment of just being pure insanity, pure what everyone would say is just Bowman gray. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way I saw it. Like, if we were going to see stuff like that all night, most races, I'd be like, okay, like it's getting too far. There's too, it's too dirty, whatever. If it's like not a short track or not Bowman Gray, but it's like you go to Bowman Gray, this is what you sign up for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there were definitely some tempers, guys talking to each other afterwards. There was the in the LCQ, there was the incident between Burt Myers and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. that got a lot of attention. And based on the angle that finally made it public, it looked like Myers just got loose or lost it.
So
But
he
was posted up outside of Stenhouse's hauler apparently like 2 hours after the race.
Am I crazy? I feel like I'm the only one who actually saw that angle. Like me and Claudia, we saw that angle on TV where we could tell that it looked like he cleared himself off of Stenhouse, and that's what it looked like.
That angle appeared later. I don't think it was on the main broadcast unless I looked away.
I remember seeing it on
was put on
TV, and I told Claudia, "It's like, oh, he just cleared himself. I don't know why everyone's so mad."
Yeah.
Well, and the great image I saw too, somebody took a picture from the stands, and it's just like 17,000 people flipping off Ricky Stenhouse.
That was very good. That was very Bowman Gray-esque.
That was delicious. Yeah.
I will say there's like this weird narrative going around. I saw like Dale Jr. talking about and others like that this is the full Bowman Gray crowd. Like this is all local. And it was like, I think it came out like 60 or 70% of the people had come from out of state. And I'm like, this is a NASCAR race, guys.
Well,
like,
they had
Bowman Gray, but like
they had to allot 40% of tickets for local people, is what I heard. Had they just sold to locals, they probably still would have filled it up, I think. But I think the other 60%, I think I read, I don't know about countries per se, but I think it was 44 out of 50 states of America was represented in that crowd.
Yeah, I think that's
correct.
Which,
considering it's a much smaller crowd, that's pretty good.
Well, to me, like this was the NASCAR crowd. Like this isn't like, have these people like not been in the stands lately? This is what it's like. I mean, the amount of times at Martinsville, you'll see basically anyone other than Chase Elliott getting flipped off. Like this is normal.
Yeah. My problem with this was the first race, I would say. Let me put it this way. Let me preface this by saying I love going to the racetrack. I don't think there's any experience in professional sports quite like going to a NASCAR race and having 40 cars roaring past you, basically in your lap. I think that's incredible. But this was the first race in a while where I felt true FOMO, where I was like, damn, I wish I was there. And some of that is on Fox for not piping in the crowd noise, not showing driver intros, really, honestly, in a lot of ways, not doing the atmosphere the justice it deserved. We got a lot of Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick telling us how rowdy and loud and into it the fans were. And, but then cameras would cut to that one Chase Elliott fan looking like a zombie. And, with all due respect. And so I just, the broadcast, I think, honestly did not do Bowman Gray the justice that it had earned. So this was a race, probably the one race in a long time where I was like, shoot, I really missed out on something, not being there in the crowd, feeling that energy for myself. But all the reviews I've heard from people who went, outside of some small logistical concerns, the actual racing experience was phenomenal. What jumped out to me, I forget who posted the photo, but someone posted a photo. Every seat was full, like 30 minutes before the LCQ. Danny, you were there with me, I think in 2022 at the first LA Memorial Coliseum race. Mm-hmm. And we were there for the heats, a couple hours before the main. Stands were maybe half full. Like most people, maybe that's because it's an LA crowd. They're used to showing up a little late, but I think more it's a non-NASCAR crowd that doesn't know exactly what's going on with the full event.
They think, a football game, you just show up right before the game starts.
Yes. It was a very, you could see that this was a more hardcore NASCAR fan crowd, which is what this event was for. The Clash in LA was trying to break into a different market, expose the sport to different people. But Bowman Gray was, hey, we know y'all love stock car racing here. Let's race in your backyard, put on a show you haven't seen in 54 years. And the hardcore fans turned out for it. So that was, I think, mission accomplished.
I love that they got a local sponsor who's kind of put themselves at a national level too. Cookout, they're from the Carolinas. They're kind of a Carolina tradition, Cookout is. And but what I like, it's a practical sponsor that you see their brand at the track all over. They had all over the place in the grass. Good job by Cookout for getting their brand out there. They were giving all the fans, because it was cold out, a Cookout scarf to have.
I think brilliant, because every time they cut to people in the crowd, I could see they were wearing the red and black Cookout scarf.
You know what? NASCAR marketing works. I went to Cookout that night and got me and Claudia dinner, and we watched the race on Sunday.
Well, and you know what it kind of, talking about what it was like there, what it reminded me of, at least from people I knew that went and told me about it, reminded me of North Wilkesboro when it came back. Cause I was at that race. I remember the
Mhm.
energy that night. Eric, you were there. I think,
I just remember the truck race even the day
yeah.
before. I hadn't felt that in a while.
Yeah. Cause that was the one where I got stuck at a hotel because the power line fell down
That's
that night.
right.
And so I
Yeah.
showed up like an hour late and I'm like, no, like crap. Like, oh, well, it's a truck race. Like, I'll just find where Eric's sitting. I'll find a seat. And then as I'm walking up, I'm like, that's just a picture out of like one of my books from the 90s. Like
Yeah, it
that's
was like you had to like, buying tickets up high and then sitting down close. Like, no, no, no.
no.
You had to sit in your assigned seat for the truck race, which is
Yeah.
very uncommon these days.
And so like that's what I kind of took out of it. And from what they were talking about on the broadcast and stuff like that, I was wishing so much, like, put in the crowd noise. Like, no, don't show all the fans on their feet before a pass is even made because like he's right there. Like, make it a wider shot if you have to. I don't care what you got to do, but like add it all together. It's kind of like when you're in a film class, they have the old adage, show don't tell.
Mhm.
Fox, show don't tell. Like, and same thing with Daytona.
Eh,
If it's going nuts, if it's Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin and like, Kyle Busch and all of these big drivers up there, pump in that crowd noise.
Yeah.
Like, do it.
That's the thing. It was big names up front all night. One note, and I do want to give Fox some credit. I thought Mike Joy was great. Even Boyer and Harvick were pretty good. The tight camera angle's a little annoying, but it wasn't terrible. There's a lot of good. No green flag commercial breaks, like full screen
Yes.
commercials. A lot of good from Fox, but it was malpractice to cut to a sleeping child during the race. Here's this action-packed event you're trying to sell us. You cut to a kid who's literally falling asleep in the ground. Like my jaw dropped. I was like, NASCAR should rip up that contract right now. I cannot believe they would show that and think, oh yeah, that's going to sell stock car racing. A sleeping child. Oh my God. I can't believe they did that. If Artie Kempner's still running this thing, like, he should be ashamed of himself. I don't know who's running it. They should be ashamed of themselves.
One race in, I feel like we are just right back to what we left with, with our annoyances from Fox. Too zoomed in on the broadcast. We're cutting to random children every chance we get, and even their digital side of it, the YouTube channel, and hey, we're YouTubers. I work for a YouTube team, but come on,
going.
you can spell highlights.
You mean higlights?
Higlights. Should they go back next year? Should they bring Bowman Gray back?
Well,
it's a great show and it's a great venue. Like what I did love about it is, like, I kind of enjoyed the racing stuff from the last few years at the Coliseum, but this was a place where this already exists. And what I loved about this is that it invested money into this facility to refresh it, re-energize it. I mean, Bowman Gray, and I don't think it was in any danger of going away like some short tracks have, but in an era where we see so many short tracks having to close their doors, it was good to see NASCAR invest something. And same with North Wilkesboro, money was invested into two, old school short tracks that these tracks can now have brighter futures. And I think that's a great thing. I would love to see that continue to happen. I mean, maybe we see more projects, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, maybe something like that. I like seeing NASCAR get involved to a point where it's revitalizing some of these classic venues. But if they do take this event globally to Brazil, like it's been rumored for a while, so be it. But at least Bowman Gray come out of this with a new revamped life to it.
So on one side, like on the racing and entertainment side, I'm like, yeah, I'd love it back, just because I think it was remarkably better than any of the years at the Coliseum.
The racing product was like,
yes.
It was real racing at times. Yeah.
Well, and it's a track made to race on. It's a track. And
yeah, the Coliseum was going to be tore up right after,
Yeah. But I think you also have to look at the business side too. And the crowd looked nice because it was 17,000 people there. If NASCAR didn't sell that, I don't care about the weather and all that BS. Like, the fans of every other sport going way colder than that. Like, they should sell that out. If they don't sell that out, there's a major problem.
Yeah, they got really lucky. This was actually one of the most mild parts of this winter we've seen all year.
Yeah, and And on the other end, though, I get, we'll talk about in a moment the TV numbers. Yeah, it's great with no promotion because, again, Fox going to Fox. But at the same time, it's the first year there. You get the first year excitement for NASCAR fans, the core fans it's built for. No matter what happens, I really don't see them topping that number at Bowman Gray. And at the end of the day, NASCAR signed this generally bad deal for the Cup Series solely off of money. And that ain't going to sell for Fox to have less people watching. So for that reason, I guess no. On the racing side, yes, definitely. On the business side, though, it makes more sense to go practically any other big market.
Yeah, and I think this should be an event that's kind of like the Super Bowl, kind of like WrestleMania. You should have these host cities that want this event to be at them. From a business perspective of NASCAR, you should want them to be bidding, and to say, just throwing out an example here, Brazil or I don't know if they ever want to make the Clash a straight course event. I guess they theoretically could and say the city of Miami wants to have it on the Miami Grand Prix circuit beforehand. I don't know if there was a way where, this could be like, the highest bidder. That's great for the business of NASCAR overall. I could see it going that way.
Well, what would y'all say to, and I think it was Jordan Bianchi on the Teardown made this argument, and I'm sure other people have as well, but that's where I first heard it, and I thought it made a ton of sense. How would y'all feel about the Clash slot being the big, bold experimental slot where they go to Brazil, they go do another stadium race somewhere else in the US, maybe they go to the Pacific Northwest or to Europe, make that the preseason exhibition because you have weeks to prepare and maybe a couple weeks to recover before Daytona, and then make that all-star race slot in May the short track stop. You do North Wilkesboro, obviously, Bowman Gray, you invest maybe in a new Smyrna or a Five Flag Speedway or what have you, and you make that the grassroots racing event. Like, how would y'all feel about doing it that way?
I think my only kind of pushback on that, it's nice, right? It's to push to those different markets. I guess two pushbacks on it. One is, what's the Clash's identity? Because yes, they pushed out to a big market for 3 years, but on top of that, then they went way to the other end of the pendulum. Now fans are super stoked, super excited, want this to be it. NASCAR, I think, one, just they got to pick a lane here, which way you're going. But I think my only real big pushback on that is that if you start the Clash, say in Brazil, Japan, I don't know, we've heard all the rumors all over the world, Saudi Arabia, that's your big kickoff for the year right before Daytona. Any taste that anyone's going to have in their mouth about NASCAR heading into speed business days is going to be from the Clash. So that's my only pushback, because at the end of the day, it is you want to push out, but your core audience is pretty majority American. And it's not saying it's bad to push out anywhere, but it's NASCAR has to do it right. It can't be a shit show. It can't be someplace that people really would freak out over, anything like that.
I mean, we can debate or argue about what's the right market, what's the right type of track. Should it be a stadium? Should it be a built track? We can argue about that. I just mean in terms of logistics, I guess, because to your point, Bowman Gray, I think the 3 million viewers they got with very little promotion is a pretty strong number, but you're right. It's not what the Clash at the Coliseum pulled in. So you want to go maybe to a bigger, if they raced in Brazil, for example, next year, I think it's safe to say it would get more than 3 million viewers. It just would. More casuals would tune in. You get a whole country potentially tuning in that wouldn't have tuned in otherwise.
Don't wear green.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying is, we can talk about specific venues, sure, but I just mean logistically speaking, I think it does make more sense to have this be the big broad race, and then the May all-star slot be a rotation between. Because to go back to the initial question I asked, yes, Bowman Gray deserves another Cup Series event. If it's next year, I would love it. If it's 2 or 3 years from now, fine. But Bowman Gray Stadium put on too good of an actual race for this to be a one and done, in my opinion.
I'll bring up one other thing when it comes to logistics. It's going to cost a lot of money, and all we hear is cost saving, cost this, cost that. And it was hell on earth for a lot of these teams to go to LA 2 weeks before Daytona. Now
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
kind of nice to give them a break this year and say, hey, you go down 50 minutes down the
Yeah.
street here.
so it's like Brazil or Europe or somewhere in the Middle East. Like that is asking a lot of cost. That's pretty much on the teams that, I mean, unless NASCAR changes how they pay out the Clash, no one really benefits from monetarily. And I mean, again, we go back to the deal. Like everything is revolving around money on this too.
Yeah, if they go to Brazil or something, I'm sure they would have to work something out because obviously TV is going to make way more money from that deal. Potentially NASCAR with ticket sales, some of that, even if it's just for the one race, they would have to trickle that down to the teams, or else there's no way teams are going to take that big of a loss.
And I kind of wonder if, you got to give them plenty of time to recuperate from something like that. Because if I recall, when they did the Japanese race, they had to send them out on like cargo ships, right? Is that what they did?
I
How they got the cars there?
I actually don't know. That'd be interesting to look up.
So, that's something else we got to consider because I would say cargo ships would be the easiest way to get them there, but that's going to take a while to get out. So instead of having this race be 2 weeks away from Daytona, do you want to have this race instead be 3 weeks away to give proper time to recuperate everything, make sure you got all your ducks in a row?
Then you're going against the NFL playoffs. And that's
and
I'm sorry, like avoiding them as much as possible is paramount. Like,
which if we go ahead and just push the Daytona 500 back anyways, I guess we've avoided the Super Bowl, but I feel like they're gonna have to get into the NFL playoffs just a little bit, sadly.
But there's no way you can have the Clash be a success TV wise because you'll be on FS1 the whole time. There's no way Fox is pushing that away. And I don't think NASCAR, if they're going to have their big, bold market that costs all this money, is going to be like, oh, hooray, we got 1.8 million viewers on Fox Sports 1, because, hey, we bled into the Colin Cowherd slot, like that's not going to do. Like, so that's where you run into it is like, do you maybe move the Clash somewhere else into the off season, like after the season? Do you move it around somewhere during the season or something like that? Because again, I get it. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, who cares? I don't like NFL anyway." It's like, well, that's great. The core sports audience of America does, and you are capital F screwed. I won't go that far and say too much more on that. You're not going to win that battle, and you're not going to grow the sport like you're wanting because your potential casual audience is going to be watching sports ball.
I'll admit I wasn't listening to the last 2 minutes that y'all talked about because I was looking this up. It took them 4 to 8 weeks to ship the cars from America to Japan in the mid 90s. They had to load up all the equipment a month in advance to ensure it would get to I guess what was the city, Osaka, or I don't remember what.
We might not be talking the playoffs. We might be talking regular season if it takes that long.
So no off season for anyone if it goes to Japan again. Like,
welcome to the Christmas Clash in Brazil.
And there's probably faster ways too and stuff like that now, but I don't see that being like, we're going to overnight ship that on Amazon, like, or FedEx it or something, or like UPS is going to have it ready to go. Here's your car. You kind of are limited. You're definitely limited, I think, to like a certain half of the world.
Yeah.
So you're saying FedEx got out because they were scared of what they'd have to ship if they stuck around.
And that's why Prime signed the deal. Free shipping.
Jeff Bezos going to personally deliver all the cars.
But no, I mean, I enjoyed the weekend. I just think that this is like a nice little. I feel, and I still feel this way. I still feel like it's going to be a one-off.
I hope not. But let's talk about the TV ratings.
Yeah, go for it, Danny.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that. So this race got a 1.55 rating and had 3.077 million viewers. That is up 104% from the 2024 Clash on FS1, but that race was moved back a day.
Really, it's moved up a day, I guess.
Oh, no, yeah, it's moved up a day. Yeah, you're actually right.
Same
The incoming storms that were coming in. This is down 15%, however, from 2023, and it's down 28% from 2022. But 2022, being the first kind of experiment of this kind, it definitely drew a lot of eyes to it.
Yeah, and just LA being a large casual sports fan media market, naturally those races had a boost. They also had more traditional promotion. I will note, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know at Daytona the years before they went to the Coliseum, granted, I think most of those races were on FS1, not Fox, but they were in the low 2 million viewership range. So Bowman Gray 3 mil, small short track at Winston-Salem. That's why I say I know. I know it's not the same ROI potentially for Fox as it was at the Coliseum, but that's still pretty huge to get 3 million eyeballs on Winston-Salem on a random Sunday night. I think that's impressive.
You're telling me we couldn't have got an Ice Cube concert in Winston-Salem?
Man, wait, you should have been in those meetings, Danny. They need these ideas. They're missing out on some gold.
But, it's one thing to read ratings, it's another thing to understand. How did you guys feel about this race with the first of the season iceberg pole?
The famous iceberg pole.
Copyright.
TM.
Yeah, what did we get, Danny?
11,000 people contributed to this. 31% said it was a great race. 54% said it was a good race, giving this an 85% net positivity. 10% said it was average, and 5% said it was a negative race. Did they limit us to 4 poll questions this year? Okay,
Yep,
darn
thank
you, YouTube.
YouTube that one. That was not me, because like somebody's like, I want it how it was before. Why'd you change it? And I'm like, I didn't have a choice. Like I didn't want to. It was working.
Darn you, YouTube.
Well, here's some of the comments. First comment from Spencer Purcell. We are not shocked at all.
No,
said,
picked up right where he left off.
Guess who's back? Back again. NASCAR's back. Tell a friend, or 2, or 10, or 100, or 1,000.
I don't have 10 friends. Shoot. Let alone 1,000.
Friends? No, I'm kidding. The comments here. Napa Racing Fan was voted high up on this one. He said, Harvick, this place is rocking. Fox Audio. No crowd noise. Crickets. I tried to get the cricket sounder. It kept muting me every time I put it on.
So yeah, we got to work on that for one of the future.
Speaking of Harvick, did you guys hear some of the Gen Z lingo? He was kind of seemed like he's being forced to sprinkle in again.
I choose to ignore that because I like to remember Harvick well, not like an old man.
Yeah, I didn't catch any, but I'll have to listen closely. Maybe because we're like borderline Gen Z. Maybe we are Gen Z. I don't even know. It goes in one ear out the other. It's so natural to me.
Not. I'm pushing 30.
Yeah, you're a millennial.
And I think Jared and I we are Gen Z. Oh God. Oh
Woo!
Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. NASCAR fan 93100 said, we got to witness the Cup Series at Bowman Gray before GTA 6 and NASCAR 25, which I pray to God adds Bowman Gray in.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
With Chase Elliott winning as icing on the cake. Relixer says, I like it there. It suits NASCAR more than LA. Alessandro says, it's not a points win, but Chase Elliott begins the 2025 season on a winning note. 3 more from the normal ones, then we'll get to our gutter comments, which I will say again is not me saying it, it's reading someone else's. But first, Insane Celery says race was good. Heats and LCQ were great.
Agree.
Sadage 92 says Max had great in-car cameras. I did hear some pretty good things for the most part.
I went back and rewatched a few of some POVs last night, actually, and they were great, high quality, could rewind, all that good stuff. But I noticed, at least on mine, maybe it was just the replay, this audio was slightly out of sync. Like it was probably like the audio is like 3 seconds behind the video. And so like you'd hear him clear. And actually, no, you could hear he'd be hitting the gas entering the corner. And I'm like, wait, no, he should be off the gas. This is delayed by a couple seconds. That's my only complaint. Hopefully they can fix that.
Blake Rye here says, run it back next year for 250 laps.
That's only 50 more. They could do that.
Only if they count cautions.
No, maybe.
Now to the gutter comments here. First one from Najee, the Cars fan, who says, another Elliott win with a frown emoji.
I mean, those aren't that common now.
It's his second win in 2.5 years. It's not even a points win.
SKRE Inc. says they still need to fix the short track package. History and prestige is ruined by a mid product.
Oh, I think the softer tires they've run the last few short tracks have made dramatic improvement. It's not quite where you want it to be, but at least these guys could punt each other out of the way, which we didn't see at Martinsville for a year or two there.
And not have grated cheese at Bristol like last spring.
And I will note, a couple of noted in the chat, amazing burnout too.
It was good. I like that.
Yeah. And having nothing in the middle of it, honestly, was pretty nice to just be able to whip it and do whatever you wanted to in the middle.
Mhm.
And then the lowest voted comment from Ghosty said, starting the season with a Mickey win, not a surprise.
It's too early for the Mickey jokes, y'all.
I'm wondering, why are the anti-Chase Elliott comments the ones that are downvoted?
If he wins the Daytona 500, he should go full Super Bowl and say, I'm going to Disney World.
Yeah, it's an hour drive. He should just go stop by.
No, in Disney, they'd probably sue him for using their name.
Mm. Is that the gutter?
Yeah, that's it. We're good.
That's the famous iceberg pole. Woo, we need more sound effects.
Gutter, honestly, this week.
No, that was pretty tame. That was pretty.
Yeah, they got to get back.
They haven't fully woke up yet.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that covers about Bowman Gray. We want to bring our guest in?
Yeah. So we've got a fun segment for you guys. Have you ever wondered, how does your favorite driver get that pretty sponsor on their car? We've seen and heard from designers who go into the process of making that car come to life. But who is the persons behind the scene making those tough deals and decisions to bring in those partners? Well, to answer that, we're bringing in our friend Nicholas Caldwell from Joe Gibbs Racing. He is the director of partnerships of Joe Gibbs Racing, and he has been doing this now for probably about a year now with JGR. But he's not brand new to NASCAR. He's had quite a good history building up to this role. But Nicholas, welcome to NWP. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to getting to Daytona. Get another Daytona championship for us.
Yeah, we were chatting before the show. You've been with Joe Gibbs Racing since last year now, but you came from Front Row originally. So you've been, and you said, I think that you were with NASCAR before that. So you've seen both sides, I guess, of the industry from a sponsorship standpoint. One of my first questions I had for you was, social media is obviously extremely important for us. Do you find that do you work much with the teams and with NASCAR on trying to get social media, working that into sponsorship, selling that as part of the inventory? How is that different between NASCAR and the teams you've worked with?
For sure. So obviously that would vary from driver to driver. And, with Denny specifically, you can consider him a polarizing figure. So the conversations we have around our partners with Denny is, I'd say 75% of it's around social media. And now with his podcast and stuff like that, you'll see partners really wanting to integrate, Actions Detrimental, and anything on Denny's social is a huge part of their program moving forward. So yeah, I'd say now, and then, with your podcast and stuff, CPM is huge when it comes to when you can get a Google ad or Facebook ad or anything like that. These companies now can get right down to where a person, where someone lives, what they do for a living. You can get all that with, a $10 spend. So the experimental aspect of NASCAR, that's certainly been an adjustment for us. So yeah, social media is critical for us.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, because NASCAR is exposed to such a broad audience. Obviously, there are select markets that I'm sure sponsors are interested in. We want the New Hampshire race, we want the Daytona race, et cetera, et cetera. But social media is way more targeted like that. So I just wondered, if that, you kind of answered my question. I'll let one of these guys ask the next question. But I was just curious to see, we talk all the time about getting the logo on the car, but there's so much more than that. It was interesting to hear your answer.
For sure.
Nicholas, so you joined with JGR back, started this year, but when you come in and you're told, hey, here's the deal. One of our most long-time sponsors who become very iconic with this driver, FedEx, they're going bye-bye. What do you do? Is that a challenge? Is it an opportunity? Are you scared? What do you do when you're in that situation?
So I think, we look at it as an opportunity. JGR has been really, for lack of a better term, spoiled over the past 32 years. Interstate Batteries is still with the team. They're our founding partner. FedEx, I know they recently just left, but I think kind of what you'll see across all of FedEx's sport partnerships, whether it's Commander Stadium entitlement or their PGA Tour stuff, you're going to start to see them kind of step away from sports in general. So we looked at it as an opportunity. Every sport is kind of going through a transformation phase right now. You've seen that through like the NBA, they have jersey patch partners now. Major League Baseball starting to kind of dig into that. And you see, like with the new NASCAR media rights deal, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say uncertainty, but there's been a lot of change. You're moving from mainstream media networks. I've seen, in the comments earlier, we only have 4 races on Fox this year. That's certainly something we've had to address with, current partners and prospective partners. And this year I think it could be a little bit of a challenge just because we're moving to Amazon, we're moving to TNT. We haven't really proven those concepts out yet. I think kind of as you move forward, into year 2, 3, and 4 of this media rights deal, you're going to see partners really start to invest.
And so, what's that looking like this year for Denny Hamlin, for example? How have you guys been able to fully respond to that and get him set up for this season?
Well, obviously, I think we have some work to do. I know Twitter had a field day with this hauler this weekend. But what I would say to that is just because it's not on the hauler yet doesn't mean we don't have announcements coming. Certainly it's a challenge to, replace, a 20-year partner and having, 25 races to fill from the FedEx void. But, we've been able to add partners like Kings Hawaiian. They're going to be on for at least 4 races this year. National Debt Relief, we just announced for the 500 and another crown jewel with the 600 and kind of having a couple other races there. Like I said, there's stuff in the pipeline that hasn't been announced yet. So for Denny, the opportunity is there. He's the most polarizing driver in the garage. And then you look across our stable, the 50 Ty Gibbs, monster, and now the actual FedEx replacement, Sire LTL Freight is on his car. And then I don't know if it's been like officially published, but Bass Pro Shops is going to be on Briscoe's car for every race this year. And Ream and Stanley Black and Decker have all Christopher's races. So, across the board, we're in a really good spot at JGR. It's just filling those gaps. And, when you're asking companies to spend, upwards of, $2 or $3 million on partners, it doesn't happen overnight. So, you look at 8 to 12 months on these programs and, you can put yourself in a box for sure if you don't have the right runway.
I think one question I got, whether it be for returning sponsors, maybe they're changing up the amount of races one way or another, or just getting new ones altogether. Like, how long is the process with each given one? Is it something that is, years in the making? Are you kind of keeping your pulse on maybe like what's going on in certain industries? Like how does that kind of play itself out?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of situational. So I'll use Kings Hawaiian as an example. That was kind of a unique situation, as you guys alluded to. I came from Front Row, and one of my big programs at Front Row was Grillo's Pickles. A lot of people don't know Grillo's Pickles is owned by Kings Hawaiian. And when the Kroger news came out with RFK last year, Kings Hawaiian actually was told that they couldn't return to RFK. And naturally, through the Grillo's Pickles relationship, or I think this was around the summer Daytona race last year, we were introed to the Kings Hawaiian leadership team. And that deal, it took us 2 or 3 months to put that together. We got it finalized, a week or two before the announcement. And then you have an example like National Debt Relief. They're already an official NASCAR partner. We have a really good relationship with the league, contrary to kind of, what social media may think. Sometimes NASCAR's done a really good job with their new sales leadership and helping integrate teams into their programs. And we had a conversation with them, and National Debt Relief, we actually put that together, I would say 2 weeks ago. So it kind of varies, but when you have these long programs like SIA, for example, a lot of that's business backed. So it's kind of, how can our partners in the Joe Gibbs Racing Partner Network help SIA with their shipping business? And how can it help like an Interstate Batteries lower their shipping cost?
Not trying to get too controversial here, but I have to laugh at the fact that someone who was already affiliated with NASCAR, and in a way, NASCAR almost helped Denny Hamlin get a sponsor for this year. It sounds like
some thick irony there.
I have another one that I think can like pertain to a lot of people in the chat. Like, if they're a fan of one of the drivers, like, obviously they can go and spend money on the sponsor, but like, how can they communicate to the sponsor leadership or whoever is overviewing a lot of that? They're like, hey, your investment's working. Fans are buying in. They're all in with that. Like how can they kind of make their voice known with it?
Yeah, I would say just being vocal either way, whether that's, most of the noise towards Denny lately has been kind of like a negative energy, but he has his fans too. Any noise really is good noise just because, one big selling point of NASCAR over all sports, whether it's football, baseball, NASCAR fans have always been the most passionate. And I think that that's really been a sticking point with any partner I've talked to, whether that was when I was at NASCAR, front row, or now here. The sticking point's always been NASCAR fans are going to be the most passionate. And I think that carries with, contrary to like stick and ball sports, when you have a partnership with the Red Sox, it's never going to be, let's just use Progressive Insurance. It's never going to be the Progressive Red Sox. When you do something with, a NASCAR team, the whole IP changes. You become the team that weekend. So you become the National Debt Relief 11 team. There's a real ownership platform in NASCAR. When you go around, look in the stands, look on social media, you have everyone wearing their Denny Hamlin shirts with their brand associated with it. So I think the ownership platform in NASCAR is something that you can't match in any other sport.
I kind of want to go back to something I think you started to touch on a minute ago. There's a lot of talk about B2B now in this industry, and I know Rick Hendrick obviously and Roger Penske, they have large business empires beyond racing that it seems they can kind of leverage to help bring sponsors on board. I mean, I know Joe Gibbs Racing now has the Harris Blitzer group involved. Like, I don't know how big Joe Gibbs's business empire truly is these days, but does that ever present a challenge trying to sell for a team like Joe Gibbs Racing? Is that something that you've noticed?
Certainly. So, a big part of NASCAR now, like you said, Hendrick has his dealerships, and when you go to buy a Chevrolet, if you're financing that car, who are you financing it from? Ally Financial. Penske has his rental truck business. What's one of their biggest partners? Discount Tires. So it's just, Coach made a lot of money in football, nowhere
Yeah.
near the money that Roger Penske and Rick Hendrick make off of those deals. So, partnerships are our lifeline at Joe Gibbs Racing. We have to figure out a way to make mutually beneficial partnerships. We can't have sponsorships at JGR. So we have to make sure that everything's mutually beneficial. And that's why we have, our own dedicated B2B team. A lot of teams don't have that. We have people that are on our staff that their only job is to fulfill, hey, we're onboarding Saya Freight right now. How do we go to all of our partners right now to figure out how we can drive their cost in their shipping business down and generate more revenue for Saya?
So that's interesting. So like you'll have other Joe Gibbs Racing sponsors, you will sort of serve as the link between the two of them. That's very interesting. That's interesting how that would work. I guess. Yeah. Well, I want to ask, this is really one of my last questions. I know you've only been with Joe Gibbs Racing since last year, I guess, after the Josh Harris group bought a minority stake. But I guess I was just wondering if you guys are able to lean on that relationship to help sell sponsors. I don't know how that works, if you're able to enlighten us at all. Is it something that you guys think about or able to work with, or is it sort of just kind of above your pay grade?
No, so certainly we use kind of a global mindset when it comes to the HBSC properties. So for those who don't know, HBSC owns a minority stake in JGR. They also own the Philadelphia 76ers, the Washington Commanders, the New Jersey Sun Devils. And we've taken this global approach. It's like, hey, if you're going to partner with one of our properties, let's do it with all of our properties. That can give us a strategic advantage over, other race teams. And last week we announced Lance with Chase Briscoe. That was so their parent company is Campbell's, and that was a global HBSE deal. So that was something that all of us were able to work together on, and I think that's really the first of many that you'll see of a deal kind of in a program structured like that. So yeah, it's been a great help for us.
Real quick, before we let you go, we got a younger audience here. There are some kids who are, either late high school, early middle college days. So a lot of them might want to find different ways to maybe get a career in the sport. And maybe this is one of those opportunities that they never even thought of going into. I mean, you've told me before you started off, I think you worked in the corporate section of Chick-fil-A. And then you ultimately went to front row, and now you're Joe Gibbs Racing. What advice would you give someone watching who might say, well, I'm not going to be a driver, I can't be a crew chief, maybe PR? How would you, what would you tell them about this as an option to still work in a sport?
Yeah, so I would say NASCAR is all about the relationship that you can build. I knew nobody in NASCAR even going back to 3 years ago. So it's just, people say you'd be annoying, like, "Hey, I'm gonna hound this person on LinkedIn for, 3 months." At some point, they'll respect that, and, the way I came up in NASCAR was literally just through hard work and grinding it out and, borderline bugging people. Candidly, I'm younger too. I fit right into that audience. I was really fortunate to get an opportunity at front row. And, I got hired into a director level role at JGR. I'm only 22 years old. NASCAR is very, rewarding on performance. So structuring yourself around a good group of leaders and people that you can not only, you know, you got to be able to learn from the people you're around. So the advice I would give is build your network, and you have to be able to be in a situation where you can learn. If you can't learn, you're never going to be successful.
It's good advice. That's strong advice. That's incredible. You that you've touched so many parts of the sport already at such a young age. That's awesome. Really appreciate you being on the show, Nicholas. I know folks in the chat found some of that insight into the Joe Gibbs Racing sponsor search quite fascinating. And I saw a lot of pickles emojis in the chat. So
And
Saw a
chicken
lot of
and chicken.
pickle, and then we got people telling us that they're not young. We got someone's 44, someone says I'm 30, 32, someone says they're 86. I don't
Hey,
believe that.
we have fellow Gen Z members as well watching too. But I should let you know there we have a meme about chicken. So seeing that you were with Chick-fil-A at one point, it's like you fit right into the show. You're right with us. Friend of the show already.
You need, you
Yeah,
need
we'll
to
have to
sign. You need to sign our favorite chicken sponsor. You need to bring Raising Cane's on up to Toyota ladder a little bit.
yeah.
Hey, trust me, we've tried, but hey, we've tried Chick-fil-A too. So,
Well,
hopefully
they're
we can
closed
work
on
on it.
Sundays.
I feel
So
like that'd be hard to
But
get a company that's closed on Sundays to sponsor on Sundays.
More Saturday
hey,
night races this year.
when I was at front row, I had Chick-fil-A on the hook for, hey, let's do this McDowell Daytona summer race. I went through NASCAR and all this other stuff like, hey, I know it's gonna rain. I'll rip this wrap off the car, we'll retech it, we'll go to the back. We've tried everything to get Chick-fil-A into the sport, and they just will not bite. But
that's
it's
hilarious.
something that'll be
McDowell would
interesting
have been
is
the perfect Chick-fil-A guy. Good
And for a
Christian
Saturday
man.
night race, barring the
Mhm.
weather, man, that's a shame.
yeah, it was a
Oh.
true disappointment. But I think it'll be interesting to see, for sake of, where's the pickle gonna land next year. So
Keep your eye on the pickle chat. You
mhm.
never know where it'll pop up next. That's great.
Well, if there is any questions from our chat, we'd love just to give you all like maybe 2 or 3 minutes or so, just to maybe send us any questions you might have, because you never know when we'll get the chance to talk to someone with this particular spot in the sport again. So just kind of curious if anyone has any questions real quick.
It's just
Hey,
lots of pickles.
going back to the Clash stuff, maybe we could ship with Sire Freight. Yeah, hit that shameless sponsor plug.
Hold on, I'm gonna scroll up too because I know there were some others too.
Yeah, I was trying to find some at the beginning.
I'm trying to cover every base here because I kind of asked some of the ones I saw in there too. So,
Jupiter Rain said get Ohio State to sponsor Denny. He might as well after how he hopped on that bandwagon all of a sudden, it felt like.
I mean, we've seen college sponsorships before.
Well, I do know early on, obviously, we did ask you a lot about Denny just because that has been the headline is trying to find a FedEx replacement. We mentioned Bass Pro signing full time, it sounds like, with Chase Briscoe. He's a lot younger driver. Like Denny Hamlin, I know he's not a champion, but he's a future Hall of Famer, 3-time Daytona 500 winner. Like to meet his salary demands, I imagine that also, makes the sponsor search a little more difficult. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine that also does make it harder to kind of piece a full schedule together.
Yeah, I would say that, to have the performance level that we've historically had, in Cup and Xfinity, no one's won more races in Cup or Xfinity than we have since we did our manufacturer change. Our overhead's going to run naturally just a lot higher than other teams to maintain that level of performance. And coach always loves to invest in, our staff, not only on the front office side, but the competition side as well. So, that comes at a price, but, we've been able to make it work, and we're going to continue to make it work, this year and beyond.
Here's one from Kyle Martin in the chat, and this is one I know a lot of fans who collect diecasts ask. Why is what are the difficulties or like how is it so hard for some sponsors to have like the licensings right for like diecast or merchandise and stuff
Mhm.
like that? Is it like stuff that's written into the deal as well, or is it just something in particular that's a NASCAR thing? How's that work?
So I assume he's talking about Monster, so we can just kind of use Monster as an example. Monster's very particular about their brand, and they're just really good stewards of maintaining the the branding they've been able to build throughout the course of their company. So that they don't want that to go into an external hands. So they've just been very particular on their branding. But like on the diecast car front, a lot of people, I mean, everyone complains about, oh man, I love that car. That diecast got, the pre-order got canceled. But what a lot of people don't realize is to get like the big 124th diecast to get produced, you have to have 500 units get pre-ordered. And if it does, so you have the pre-order window, and it usually goes for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then Lionel will go to your licensing team and say, "Hey, we're 400 cars short of hitting MOQ or whatever." That's going to run you anywhere between $20,000 to $25,000. Sometimes the partner would pick that up, but as you see when there's cancellations, a lot of times it's just no one has that capital laying around. So that's the challenge that we've had with diecast cars, and the turn time on them's not ideal either. So. But we'll have the national debt relief car will get offered tomorrow, and we expect that to hit MOQ.
Here's a fun question from Napa Racing Fan 927. In a way, kind of applies directly to us. How do sponsors sign on for throwback schemes? Not all throwbacks are tied to their original sponsor. And likewise, when we were on part with the Daily Downforce and Out of the Groove Creators car, we chose not to do a throwback scheme. We did briefly think about it. We actually threw out some ideas. I think I was throwing out. We were thinking, what purple and yellow could we do? And I threw out like a Jamie McMurray Crown Royal throwback. That's about the best thing we could think of. So I am curious though, when you're working with partners like that, how much does that particular weekend come up of about any kind of ways to work together for that?
Yeah, we have a fantastic brand team, both on the design side and kind of the activation side. So every paint scheme goes through an approval process, both internally and with the partner. So it's really just a matter of having that conversation with the partner and kind of hearing what they want to do, and then kind of going through ideas in an open collaboration setting.
Cool. That's awesome.
That covered covered a lot of the different questions I think they had in the chat too. So
Yeah, that was great. Really appreciate you
Bird,
sharing a lot of the
one
inside
stone.
baseball with us.
Sure.
But yeah, we appreciate what for any like announcements coming up. Where can people look for it? Is it just gonna be social media? Is there gonna be specific things that might come up at in the near future? Where should people and what should people look out for?
Yeah, our JGR social channels, unlike some of the other teams, we have a 9-person dedicated social team. We're one of 2 teams to own or have like a YouTube play button. So we work really hard on our social deal, and I think around the spring Phoenix, we could have a cool announcement for Denny, but can't give you all the secrets.
Denny Denny delivers in the chat. Will keep his fingers crossed. Keep his,
And what can you
eyes
announce
and
right here on NWP right now?
Do you guys have a Super Bowl commercial this weekend? Yeah.
We do not. We almost did with King's Hawaiian though, but
Really?
And
Yeah,
well,
those,
Joe Gibbs being on one would be fun.
If the
no
Commanders
one-
make the Super Bowl, you guys got to have a Super Bowl
Got
commercial.
to, yeah.
that kind of ruined the plans though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe next year.
yeah. Hey,
Yeah, that Jaden Daniels guy might be able to help that become a reality soon.
hopefully
Mhm.
so. Hopefully so. That made the HBSE conversations a lot easier this year with them being super successful.
I'm curious, since it sounds like you do see Coach pretty often. When it gets towards football season, is he ever like kind of like just what are the Commanders doing this week and less on the racing?
So this is the NFC Championship weekend. We flew back and forth to LA to go see King's Hawaiian the Thursday before. And Coach is crazy when it comes to like traveling and stuff. We left at like 6:30 in the morning, had this meeting, and flew back the same day. Next thing I know, he's planning his trip to Philadelphia to go to the Commanders game. So Coach is all in on the Commanders, man. The whole playoffs, he was like doing the whole nervous pacing back and forth through the hallways. He's invested, man.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
It's good to know he's just like all of us with our teams.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's just cool that he's still such a fan, so involved with the team, all these years, after all these years. That's awesome.
In a way, it's kind of
Yeah, I
like
think-
how Dale Jr. has become kind of like a fan of the sport these days. But
Mhm.
coach that's still coach's team. And maybe he might still call it the Redskins. I don't know, but
He has a slip up every once in a while.
I think he'd be excused for that. Yeah.
He always wears the Super Bowl rings around, so that's always a conversation point when we go and talk to new partners. He's sitting there like flexing his rings like that. So
That's smart. He may not have, a million car dealerships like Rick Hendrick, but he's got some Super Bowls.
It's something a
he
lot
needs to
cooler.
have Super
Yeah.
Bowl rings on one hand and Daytona 500 rings on the other, and
And NASCAR
the-
championship ones
Like
too.
the
Just-
Infinity Stones.
you need to get him like a WWE style belt that has all the championships that his drivers have won on there, and just a permanent. Here's my championships.
Just have him
Make it
walk
the
around with it all year.
and the JGR logo too. Just have it all made up of championship rings. That would be awesome. We need.
Yeah,
We'll pitch it.
Coach is awesome. He's in the shop every single day. He wants to be involved in everything. He wants to get his feet wet in anything he can. So, it's a real privilege to be able to work with Coach.
That's awesome. Well, it was a privilege to have you on our show here. This is our second episode of the year, Nicholas. This is starting the year off extremely strong. We really do appreciate your time tonight.
Glad we can
Yeah.
be a small part of it.
Nicholas, it's good having you on. It's hard to believe the four of us have probably been around you at some point at a race when you were doing stuff behind the scenes for Front Row, but didn't know it. Long story short, I got to know Nicholas better over the off season when unfortunately I was laid off from my last job and put on LinkedIn, and then he and I connected a lot. He tried to get me some opportunities and had an interview or two. Thanks to Nicholas' connection, it just didn't work out in the end, but I am somewhere else now, and been great to still stay connected and get you on, because I really thought this is one of those things that maybe we can do more of this year, bring in more people from parts of the sport that you don't usually hear from. And I feel like that'd be something cool to continue doing this year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Nicholas, was
Happy to be
was
on
that you
whenever.
in the pickle suit I saw at Daytona in the summer?
For New Hampshire, it was not Daytona. I'm not quite tall enough to stay in that suit.
Oh wait, they actually had you in the suit?
Mhm.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
That's great. That is
Oh wow.
awesome.
I didn't realize you were so close to the pickle profession here. What a way to
Would you wear a mascot suit again for Coach?
Hell yeah, I would. Absolutely.
Oh my god, that's funny.
A bass for Bass Pro Shops.
Absolutely.
A giant fish
He's like-
that's going around pit road.
He's like, how
Hey.
high? I will
Name it and I'll do it.
That's funny. Good
I
meeting
know
you, man.
I know who would volunteer if you need a mascot for something. I think NASCAR Chasm said on Twitter, like maybe last week, that he wants to be in a suit for somebody randomly.
Hey,
I'd
we'll
love
do it.
I'd love to wear a mascot suit one
We
day.
need
It
to have
just has
someone
be
dressed
right
up as
fit.
a King's Hawaiian roll this year.
Eric, they'd have to have a huge mascot to fit you in one, dude.
Well, mascots are usually pretty big, pretty tall. I feel like I could squeeze into a suit, and I'd be like even scarier than most mascots already are.
I've seen you at the track. It'd be very obvious who was in
Yeah.
that suit.
Who's in that suit? Yep. I used to work at Disney World, and I remember looking at what it would take to audition to play one of the characters that people meet, and the only one I might have been short enough, I guess, to play would have been Chewbacca. I think they are asking for 6'5". I'm 6'7". I might have fit into the Chewbacca suit, but I didn't pursue my dream. I
I
stayed
figured
Trevor
you'd
got
be
off the
Darth
Big
Vader.
Bird.
He's kind of taller, isn't he?
Chewbacca's taller, apparently.
There's never an opportunity to be Big Bird.
Not at Disney World, but if wherever
Wrong
Big
brand,
Bird
buddy.
lives, yeah, there's a lot of IP jumbled around. It's easy to get a little confused. Yeah,
I think you could go into acting. You could do Gaston.
who, me?
Yeah.
With the guy from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, you could be him.
Have you seen my arms? No, not. I
They'll
don't think I
give you
could.
fake arms. They'll give you prosthetics.
Anchor arms from SpongeBob. Okay,
Yeah.
we got to let Nicholas
We're
get
getting
out of
in the
here. We have
weeds.
devolved.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man, and definitely come back
Absolutely.
on sometime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there
Yeah,
he
it
goes.
was-
Don't be a stranger, Nicholas.
Thanks for being on, Nicholas.
Oh man, Danny, there appears to be a break, a super chat stage break coming up.
Yes. I think we've hit it right at a good time for it, actually. So, that being said, you want to do me a 3-minute timer here?
I got you.
Alex Luff, appreciate kicking us off for the first super chat of the year on DannyBTalks, $2. NASCAR is officially back, and I'm going to do this in style of Jey Uso, the Royal Rumble winner. Yeet. That's what he said. Spencer Purcell, appreciate being a member for 43 months. Fun fact, you have hit Danny B football month. My number was 43, so 43 months. Ready to kick it into high gear in 2025. Let's go. We're in high gear. Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate a $9.99 from you. I'm going to Daytona next weekend with my girlfriend, and this will be her second race of me, and I'm stoked. She's just as excited as I am to go to the race. Cannot wait. Have fun, Hunter. And Daytona 500 is always a fun one to go to. I've gone now to 3. How many of you guys gone to now?
3, I think, 20, 21, 22.
This year will be, I think, my 4th in a row. So 3.
Wow. But yeah, have fun, man. It should be a good time for you. Alex Luff, appreciate the $5. We've had polar bear in Arlington, Texas moments. What would be a good, what kind of idiot would trade bubble gum for raisins NASCAR moment?
Is this a reference to the Luka Doncic trade?
I mean, looking back on it now, Kyle Busch getting out of JGR for RCR is looking kind of like that.
That could fit. I'm trying to think of like a royally bad one. Get back to me on that one. I'll see if I can find one.
Fred Dog 81, appreciate the $5. Do you agree with Boyer that crossing the choose cone box like Barry did was a ticky tack penalty? I think if you clearly pick a lane, you shouldn't be penalized.
I think it was the right call. It's black and white, and I feel like you just open yourself up to games being played, people trying to like swerve at the last minute. Like, nah, it sucks, but it's same as speeding on pit road. It's a black and white line,
or not getting to the pit road commitment line in time. You know, it's pretty clear. SW, appreciate the $4.99. It is insane. Fox Sports never advertised Bowman Gray, yet it pulled big numbers. I mean, it was advertised some, not too much. I think I've definitely seen more Daytona 500 and IndyCar advertised I saw for Bowman Gray, but you know, I think
not on TV at all. At least
that comes down more to what NASCAR did themselves to really make it clear that what they were doing.
They did they made like a short Madhouse documentary that was posted on the NASCAR YouTube channel and did pretty well. Last I checked, it had over 100,000 views, which isn't bad. But Fox did not put any effort into TV commercials.
Yeah. Isaac V24, appreciate it, $4.99. Just remember, it's not going to matter how good he is throughout the season. If Elliott isn't good at Phoenix, he's not winning a championship. Hashtag playoffs suck.
Well, getting the championship 4 would still be a big deal since he hasn't the past couple of seasons, and you never know.
I mean, he's been in a championship for what, twice now, 20 and 21. And
he was 3 in a row, I believe, for between 20 and 22.
Wow.
Yes, if he gets to a 4th, like that's the thing. Like I've always said, love or hate the playoffs. Getting to the championship 4, you should raise a banner. You should hang a banner for that. Like that's a big deal to get to the championship race. Winning it is the icing on the cake with the way the format currently rewards it.
How many more minutes we got, Jarrett?
Oh shoot, we went 30 seconds over.
Oh,
I was listening to all of it and stuff. So yeah,
well, I want to do 2 more, so we'll just do 2 more and then we'll stop. Isaac V24 once again a $4.99 hot take. I'd prefer watching Fox over NBC. Why? Because I don't have to hear about the playoffs every other minute on Fox, unlike on NBC. He really hates the playoffs.
That's fair. That's not NBC's fault though, but I understand.
That's just positioning.
It is overbearing.
Trust me,
play a damn drinking game and you will be gone.
If it was vice versa, you'd hear Mike Joy. You'd hear Larry McReynolds, lots of butters, hammering it down your throat just as bad.
I don't know if I could listen to Clint Boyer try to explain the playoffs.
Well, you see, I was in the playoffs one time, and it was wild, guys. I'll tell you.
He'd probably start talking about the Chiefs the whole damn time.
his hot
The
rod.
Chiefs have been in the playoffs a few times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
and you
wanna
know,
talk
it's
about
like I
playoffs.
see this all the time at Chiefs games. Look, it's another kid sleeping.
Grid flow. We're going to end a few for $1.99. This is kind of going back earlier, but we'll have fun with a little bit more. What would be the NASCAR version of the Luca trade?
Oh, somebody
trying to
actually left
think.
that super chat. I don't know. I see, like, there really aren't trades. I mean, last year you kind of had LaJoy and Justin Haley sort of get traded, but like there's not really trades in NASCAR. So I'm trying to think of just like shocking like free agent moves. Honestly, looking back at it, Keselowski buying into RFK and taking over for, I think he replaced Ryan Newman at the time, right? In the 6. Kind of wild when you think about it. I know he was like on year-to-year deals with Penske because of sponsor concerns, but to go from a championship contender to a team that was borderline playoff contention, like for a guy in his prime, a championship driver in his prime, the more I think about that, like I was going to say he deserves credit for it. I don't know if he necessarily deserves credit. He deserves credit for what they've been able to build the last 3 years. But at the time, at least, I don't know if he deserved credit. It was more of just, whoa, okay, I hope this works.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, because there have been instances of drivers taking over their rides.
Yeah.
So not a trade, but I can't think of one that's been like horrible off the top of my head. There probably is. I'm probably just blanking on it on the spot, but
The thing about the Luca trade was it was like, in sports these days, even NASCAR, rumors come out months in advance quite often, but nobody was talking about 2 superstars getting traded in the middle of the night. Like that, that was on nobody's radar. So I'm trying to think if there was a NASCAR move that was like even when Michael Jordan bought into 2311, that was rumored for at least a couple months before it got announced. Like there was a little bit of chatter there about it. So I'm trying to think, like, is there anything that just completely blindsided us?
okay. Peter brings a good one up. Harvick for Newman with RCR and SHR. Harvick went over to the 4, which was, I believe, the rebranded 39. And he went over to RCR. It wasn't the same exact ride with the 31.
I guess
but
that was effectively a trade. It's not, I wouldn't consider that. I don't remember at the time. I mean, was it a shot? Was it shocking at the time, or did everyone kind of go like, oh yeah.
Well, for the longest time, the big rumor, and I remember it was a rumor for the longest time, even then, was Harvick to the 5. And then that carried through like the whole 2010s. I don't know if it was necessarily shocking, but it definitely was like, it was one of the few ride switches that was damn near a trade.
I guess that's close. That's about as close as we're going to get with our off the dome.
Oh, wait,
trying to.
I had to say it. The guys aren't really on the same level per se, but Chris Buescher and Stenhouse essentially were traded in a weird way too.
That's a good point. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Looking back, RFK,
We'll think more.
RFK and Hayek, JTG, they had a lot of trades. You really think about it, because now they have RFK has their old sponsor Kroger, and they have their old 2 drivers, Ryan Preece and Chris Buescher, now in the system.
Damn, that's true.
RFK,
Weird.
I think, won that one.
They strip mine the place.
Yeah, RFK is the Lakers in this case, and
But at least Hayek and Kroger, I guess by association, they got a Daytona 500 win out of it at least.
that is true. That is true.
Kind of shifting gears here, Danny. What do we got up on tap?
It's kind of calmed down. We were getting some storms here earlier. I think they're back, boys. I think I hear some lightning outside.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, nope. Actually, earlier that shook the apartment here. But yeah.
There was one where Shugs, he went running into the closet because it was pretty close to our house. This is a very fast lightning round, in all honesty, this week. We don't have much on here, so we'll just
I'll roll through quick.
Yeah, we'll get right into it.
Well, first off, just letting everybody know, of course, we had the NWP channel that we re-upload every episode onto in case you miss it. All of them are right there. Specials could be popping up this year. Just saying, there's stuff to look at there. Justin Bonsignor will be racing the JGR number 19 Xfinity car at Daytona. So
In fact, he wrecked me on iRacing once.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't remember that. That is a fun fact.
Crocs has released a new line of NASCAR Crocs. Again, it's like the mid 2000s. We're racing again at Rockingham. We have the 8 back, and Crocs are a thing. I get they've been around for a while. Busch Beer will air the Ross Chastain Circles ad during the Super Bowl this Sunday. So big deal to have Ross Chastain up there.
Seen him on Fox News this morning at Planet Fitness when I was on a treadmill.
They are pushing him hard, man. They're which I'm all for, because Ross Chastain's awesome, both on and off the track.
Well, I forget where I read this, but NASCAR has their new sort of incentive program for drivers to go do extra media stuff. And I forget where I read this. I think it might have been The Athletic. I don't recall now. Chase Elliott and I think Blaney, or Chase Elliott and Bubba, maybe. I think it was Chase and Blaney went to Chicago to do a bunch of promotion. That was part of that program. I saw today Ryan Blaney was in Austin doing a bunch of promotion. I'll bet that was part of that program. Chastain and Busch Beer, a NASCAR premier partner, launching this massive campaign. Wouldn't surprise me if that's part of the incentive program. Either way, like, hopefully that's this incentive program doing what it was intended to do.
I feel
Eric,
like
can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
The only NASCAR driver, I think the only NASCAR driver I remember being mentioned in your wedding / reception area. Why does your father-in-law hate Ross Chastain?
Oh yeah. Oh man, we didn't talk about this on the show. I think he meant to say Joey Logano. Okay, chat. These two, of course, stood in my wedding over the off season a few weeks ago. My lovely father-in-law, Tony, delivered an epic speech or toast at the reception. Was really heartfelt, really beautiful. He's an amazing guy, did an incredible job, had the room in tears. He made a comment at one point about how he'd learned so much about NASCAR, having gotten to know me over the past 3 years. And I forget the exact line, was something about like, he now knows that he's supposed to boo Ross Chastain. And I was like,
why?
I saw Eric's face in that moment, and I'm like, that wasn't the right driver.
Yeah, I looked over at these two and I was like, I think he meant Joey Logano, because obviously as a Matt Kenseth fan, there's a running joke that obviously I hate Joey Logano. But in his defense, and I know he's watched some of my videos, back in 2022, which is around the time I started to date his daughter, my now wife, Ross Chastain had made some enemies. I was critical of some of his on-track activity. There's a chance that's what he was going off of, in which case he would be forgiven. But it was a funny line. I just remember thinking, and I meant to bring it up with you guys afterwards, like, I think he meant Joey Logano, but it's okay. We'll let it
Me
slide.
and Claudia just kind of looked at each other like, what'd he do?
Well,
Yeah,
I
Ross
remember,
Chastain caught a stray in my wedding reception.
Eric, I remember you and me used to spar in 2022 back and forth, because like I was all aboard, like, keep it going, Ross. And you're like, Ross, what the hell are you doing? Like, because we were both ends of the pendulum of Ross Chastain.
I had a running meme making the thumbnails for the show that when Ross Chastain did something bad, his picture was getting slowly bigger in the thumbnails each time.
and it was getting abnormally large because he kept getting into stuff.
The whole thumbnail was going to be Ross Chastain's face.
But because then the next spring we had the thanks Ross meme or whatever it was, and it was that was a good one. I got a little flack for that one, but I don't care. It was a funny ass meme. Let's see. I think we're closing out here.
I didn't mean to interrupt that too much. I just had to ask.
That is a funny story
to bring up, Danny. Good on you remembering to bring that up. I think we talked about, like, we got to bring that up. The truck race, by the way, at Atlanta, it's been moved from 2 p.m. Eastern time to 1:30. It's still on FS1, but Bob just wanted to notify us that there's a little more gap between truck and Xfinity. As for next week, so next week is our Daytona 500 preview, and it's a little bit different than most episodes when it comes to start time, because we don't have an exact start time unless it rains. Like, if it rains, we'll just start normal time and just roll like normal. But next week, we're going to be live on Eric's channel, Wednesday, February 12th, directly after Daytona 500 qualifying. So, no, we'll be there. We'll have the stream up through the entire, I'm assuming, Eric, you'll have it up through the entirety of qualifying for people to leave their live reactions in the chat. But we'll get rolling. It'll be a late night, but a fun one, and we know y'all will be there. So there'll be that. And poll. Oh, my answer isn't winning.
Someone mentioned in the chat that I haven't done my funny meme polls, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's get started. So poll, you have answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4.
Great way to end the lightning round. And while the polls rolled, do we have some headlines, Danny?
We do have just a little bit to talk about this week. And it's kind of ironic. We just had a representative from Joe Gibbs Racing on the show here because we've got Denny Hamlin sounding off. Eric, what have you made out of this? I know you're definitely the one who's got to be more up to speed on the big happenings of all this stuff. Run us through here. What's Denny Hamlin been talking about?
So we all remember earlier this offseason, NASCAR created the open exemption provisional. I think we briefly talked about it on last week's show as part of our offseason recap. Effectively, it's a 41st spot on the grid reserved for world-class drivers who want to give NASCAR a try. They're locked into the show, but if they have to use the OEP, they aren't eligible for any points, any prize money. So they're not taking a spot from anybody else. They're just being given an extra spot that doesn't pay anything should they fail to qualify organically. Clearly, it's an attempt to get superstars from other racing series to come over, give NASCAR a try. It's supposed to encourage them, motivate them, hopefully raise NASCAR's profile. And Denny Hamlin was asked about it in the media center this weekend, and he said that the OEP, I think he meant to say reeks of desperation. There was a slip of the tongue, but that's what he meant. He called it a desperate move by NASCAR to grab headlines, said it was a short-term gain, but a long-term loss. I'm paraphrasing, but then he went on to say that drivers who want to come race NASCAR should have to earn their spot or work their way up the ladder like everyone else. I don't know what y'all's take is on it. I think he's right in the sense that, yes, this is NASCAR admitting they have a star power problem. Like Elio Castroneves coming to run the Daytona 500 raises the Daytona 500's profile significantly. If someday somehow an F1 star comes over and attempts a NASCAR race, that's going to raise NASCAR's profile. Like NASCAR only has a couple of drivers, maybe only Chase Elliott, who noticeably moves the needle, whether they're racing or not. That's a problem. And I think this OEP is NASCAR acknowledging that's a problem. Where I disagree with Hamlin is I don't think it's a bad thing. I'll be curious to see where you guys come down on it. Like I compared it to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Not exactly the same situation, but 2 years ago, NASCAR was basically given a free spot in arguably the most prestigious race in the entire world. They weren't there to race for points or anything. They were just there to show off themselves. And my argument was that it did not in any way, shape, or form hurt the integrity or the legitimacy of the 24 hours. If anything, it just raised its profile here in the United States. So my argument would be the OEP has the potential to do the opposite for NASCAR, raise its status in Europe, for example. So that's why I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a loss long-term or short-term. That's the part I guess I disagreed on. But I want to know what you guys think, because we haven't talked about this.
Yeah. I know people don't like me saying it, but I kind of agree with them on the sense that it is desperation. I mean, NASCAR can't market its own stars, so it needs to bring in others to make big races a big deal.
Yeah, I agree there.
And if that's the case, I mean, I don't really see many other sports or motorsport leagues regularly doing that unless they're built around doing that. Now, the part that I think is catching or should catch the most conversation is the fact that he had said that it's a short-term gain for a long-term loss. And what I more compare it to, because I think it's a better comparison, is the past champions provisional that was used in large part to pretty much save really formerly good drivers' careers when they started to just completely fall off or had been in full descent of the age.
You could call it Richard Petty rule in some ways.
Darrell Waltrip, especially. I mean,
or DW, yeah.
Tony Stewart brought up a great point in 2004 that I'm sure a lot of people brought up, that DW wouldn't have been able to race like the last 4 years of his career for the most part had it not been for the past champions provisional. And it was great having those people put around out there. Every now and then they'd pop up. To me, there's two ways that I think Denny could be right about it. I won't necessarily say it's a long-term loss yet until it plays out, obviously. But in one way, you're bringing a bunch of people who are completely undisciplined in this level of racing over, and they might be like a Tony Stewart, a Marcus Ambrose, a Juan Pablo Montoya, compete for and win races. But they also could be a Danica Patrick. They could be
Dario Franchitti.
Dario Franchitti. Yeah. I mean, heck, even Cup Series Sam Hornish when he was in the 77. And then on the other end of it is the past champions provisional was also used to exploit the top 35 rule and like find a way around it at the time. I get there's not as many rules now with qualifying and having more teams in and stuff like that. But teams will find ways to exploit this for one race or another. Yeah, they don't get paid during the race, but they still get the sponsorship dollars, which will probably cost a bit more. And if they do end up getting that payoff. So I don't think it's necessarily like this death knell that they have it happening and that there can be one spot. I mean, short track series do this too. Dale Jr., when he raced, I believe at Florence, was locked into the show. They told him before, it's like, yeah, by the way, it doesn't matter what you do. You're locked in. You could suck ass the whole damn night. We don't care. You're Dale Jr., you're in.
We're not going to sell these tickets for Dale Jr. and you're not in.
Yeah. So I won't say that it's this terrible death knell kind of thing, but it is very indicative of where NASCAR is with their own marketing, with the fact that it's like, we can't get anyone in. Eventually somebody big will use this rule, and maybe they'll use it with, I think Truex and Jimmy qualify. So it's practically a past champions provisional for the NASCAR side guys, if it ends up being that way, if they need in.
Because in the past, like past champion provisional, 2009 season, that saved Tony Stewart because technically, yes, he raced the season prior, but his car, where it was based on and Haas's owner points a season prior, I think it was like the 70 or the 66, one of those two. It sucked. It was terrible. It was below the top 35, but because he is a past champion, that saved him and his team for the first 5 races to be guaranteed, and ultimately they come out of that ranked in the top 10. They were fine.
Another one. Shout out to Vody because he uploaded all those awesome uploads in the off season. 2008, Kurt Busch. They took the number 2 owner points, gave it to Sam Hornish Jr. for the first 5 races to have him in, and in turn with that they used the past champions provisional if Kurt Busch ever needed to get it. Same with Dale Jarrett in the 44, and then it went to David Ruderman for the end of the year, just get the back and forth and stuff like that. So again, I don't know, especially with the fact that we are probably not getting too many 40 car fields, this rule is going to be needed, but yeah. On the other end, if the sport does keep getting more people in and more teams in, and there are bigger fields, sort of like we saw last year, there were more 40 car fields, like this might actually be something that we're going to run into at some point. That, and I'm going to be honest, as somebody who really loves the duels when they have people on the cut line, I wanted to see Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. and Elio Castroneves all on the cut line, because it might suck to not have them in the race, but damn, would that make a really exciting Thursday night.
That's true. So it sounds like we do largely agree, actually, is that, yes, this is NASCAR admitting there's a problem. Hopefully this is the first step towards them trying to solve that internally, promote your own stars, more Ross Chastain Super Bowl commercials. But long-term, I don't know that it's a bad thing that they're just bringing back the past champions provisional. And I will say this, you kind of said at the end there, but for the time being, this will really only come into play in the Daytona 500. And, people, I've seen questions raised like, oh, so anyone could show up and race just as long as they're a big enough name? That's not safe. Well, they made SVG run, I think, both the ARCA and Xfinity, or they made him run the ARCA race before he could do the Xfinity race last year. And the same case here with Elio. I mean, obviously he's gone 230 at Indy not that long ago, but they're making him run the ARCA race before he does the Cup race. So there is still, there is still, you must meet a certain qualification on the stock car racing side. They're not just going to let anyone show up to Daytona in a Cup car for the first time and wing it. At least that's not the precedent they've set.
What else we got? There's been more stuff popping up.
I think that's all for that part of it. But let's talk about the potential return of a series name, if we can will it to exist, because Xfinity Series will no longer be the Xfinity Series anymore. They've announced that they will be dropping the title sponsorship, which we kind of, in a way, saw this coming. They extended it for only like 1 year, and it kind of seemed like, okay, they're just kind of band-aiding this, doing it for 1 more year, it felt like. But they have confirmed that they will leave, no longer be the Xfinity Series after 2025. But they will be moving in to sponsor a bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, which I do kind of like that move. I think I talked about this before on a previous podcast, that I think, you miss some incentives, like, the person who was leading at the halfway point, the team got like an extra $100,000 or something like that. Little things like that it's pretty cool. I do kind of like that we're still seeing that. Now, I don't know if there's any indication. I think Xfinity is like one of the like 4 official sponsors or of the NASCAR Cup Series. I don't know if they're necessarily going away from that role, but
They
they will no
extended that
longer.
deal.
Okay, so that they're still in for that part of it, but they'll no longer have the Xfinity Series, which in a way, another one of those big 4 that you have for Cup is Busch Beer, and some fans are starting to speculate. We saw the return of Craftsman Truck Series. Could we see the return of the Busch Series?
I'm all for it. I mean,
Be cool.
I'm happy I don't have to hear, we were as fast as Xfinity something
Yeah.
G internet. Like, what's going to be now? It's like he crashed. It's like, wow, he's driving like he drank 30 Busch Lights out there,
Except the difference is, instead of getting paid to say that, they'll get fined for saying that.
Yeah.
If they don't get a sponsor lined up and they just kind of do a similar deal to the Cup Series with it, it would be kind of weird to hear it go back to its official name, the NASCAR Grand National Series. I think that's what it was.
That'd be
cool.
I'm interested what direction they go, because I feel like that can be a kind of a crossroads with it. Like, we could do the Truck Series, Craftsman Truck Series, have a title sponsor, or do the new business model, see how it's worked out with the Cup side of it. The one part of it, though, that I really like is the fastest lap bonus point. I like the idea of bringing bonus points in, incentivization. They already incentivize because of qualifying and like the metrics of like order and pit stalls, stuff like that. Like, they already need to have fast laps on all 3 series with the teams, but something for the fans to follow along to as well. What I immediately came to my head is cut line battle or something, or running up into the championship lead during the regular season, whatever. Someone crashes at Daytona, let's say, or Talladega or Martinsville. Team gets it repaired, can't get any more spots, but they can soup that thing up to hit one really good hot lap, go out there, get that point, and they're still in contention for something, even if they've been in the garage for an hour or 2 or something like that. And I like that. Same with the leading a lap and leading the most laps. I'd love for that to come back. I don't think that it's something that is foreign or alien to the Cup Series Xfinity truck. I don't think this is something very similar to what Formula One does. A lot of short tracks have different incentives for points in their championships too, and money and stuff like that. So I'm all for it.
I like it. I think I would have preferred just bonus point for leading the most laps, but that doesn't sound as good as Xfinity fastest lap. Like, Xfinity most laps led doesn't really have anything to do with internet. So
Yeah.
I get it. But my thing is, it hit me while I was recording my show yesterday, and I sort of like talked myself in a circle. I was like, man, I don't really like the idea of a sponsor though coming in and like dictating a rule or format change. And then it hit me. I'm like, what the Nextel basically did that in 2004. So I'm like, it's not anything new, I guess. I'm complaining about something that's been around a long time.
You just didn't realize it at such a young age.
Yeah,
This is just
naive.
Okay, yeah, sure. This is life now.
Mm-hmm.
Moving away from that one though, this is where I think the show's gonna get pretty fun. We get to go over our official NASCAR playoff predictions. What all have we gotten? What all have we agreed on, and what all have we disagreed on?
And this is where I apologize in advance to our listening audience, but Jarrett's put together some very nice visual aids to help clarify what picks we agree and disagree on. We'll do our best to verbally explain what's going on as well.
I feel like we've actually gotten a decent amount that we have agreed on. We've got 12 that we have actually agreed on this year.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think a lot of them, we got all the Hendrick drivers. We have all of the Gibbs drivers, Chastain, Buescher, Blaney. Yeah, we agree on a good deal of these.
Well, I find this interesting. We all so Buescher didn't make the playoffs last year, but neither did Chastain, but we all have them making it.
They still won races later in the season, so you feel like they can win.
That's true. I'm a little surprised we all picked Ty Gibbs. I feel like Ty Gibbs You know,
I'm
end of
surprised we
the
all
year.
picked Alex Bowman.
Bowman ended the year strong. Ty Gibbs didn't. Ty Gibbs' last 4 or 5 races were pretty terrible. And maybe some of that I'd have to go back and look. I'm sure some was bad luck, situational, but
But he's in a JGR car. He's got to win soon, right?
hey, I keep saying year 3, Chase Elliott won in year 3, William Byron, Kyle Larson, they all won their 3rd year. This is Ty Gibbs's 3rd year. Yes, the trends, as Larry Mack would say, suggest he should win. I'm just surprised all 3 of us picked him, to be quite honest, because I've seen people on social media are like, I don't know, I'm kind of hopping off the Ty Gibbs bandwagon a little bit.
Well, and I'll argue too, when it comes to Busher was in general a borderline top 5 consistency driver last year, and just bad luck. Same with Ross Chastain. He was right up there as well.
Inches away from winning a few times. A bad move by Tyler Reddick at Darlington. His owner got the win instead.
Overtimes alone, I think, cost Chastain well over 80 points from where he was running to where he finished.
Texas and Nashville, especially.
And granted, that could happen again, but I feel like 5 overtimes, happening or getting knocked out in just about every overtime. I feel like that's something that doesn't repeat itself. It's kind of it's kind of like in football. There's going to be teams sometimes that win all of their 1-score games and lose all of them. But eventually, in all of sports, doesn't matter whether it's stick and ball or motorsports, everything always regresses back to the mean. You have extremes, but generally people are not extremely snake bitten or extremely, extremely lucky every single year. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is if people caught insane breaks, they're probably going to go back to the mean a little bit. If they got insanely horrible bad breaks, it's probably going to get back to the middle. It's always sports is a pendulum in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I see people are generally pretty agreeable with us on these ones. I think it's
okay.
The next slide that's going to be
okay.
I know
Where do
I'm
we
gonna
disagree?
I'm going to get heat for sure.
What did you say? Oh, you got Logano out?
Dude was mediocre last year. So I'll read these out. Okay, because 2 of us agree on each, and then 1 of us disagree. I have Joey Logano out where they have him in. Eric has both Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar out where Danny and I have them in.
Y'all both have Hocevar in? That's a lot of confidence in a second-year driver.
On a random super speedway, honestly.
Danny has SVG out, whereas Eric and I do. Okay, fight.
And looking back on that, I think honestly, I probably would put him back in. I just got to remind myself he's in Cup now this year. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing with SVG, 5 road courses, and we have Mexico City is a brand new layout. He'll pick it up as fast as anyone, probably faster than most. And then Chicago, obviously, which we know he's great at. And then Dakota, they tweaked the layout to Dakota. There's 2 or 3 extra corners or different corners now. Again, I just think SVG, the odds are great. He'll win one of those races. But yeah, so Joey Logano out. Wait, no, we got to give Jarrett the floor for a second. Why Joey Logano out?
So for me on this one, I just said it with Ross Chastain, with Chris Buescher, so many of them, the pendulum always swings back to the middle, regress to the mean, stuff like that. But Joey Logano, I mean, just outside of Richmond, which I know a lot of people argue Richmond, he would have won if it wasn't for, Austin Dillon doing Austin Dillon things. But we also forget the fact that he was not anywhere near the pass really for the lead after or before that happened, the Nashville deal and stuff like that. The big one, and I alluded to it last week, is the schedule changes. Moving flat, short ovals like New Hampshire and Gateway out of the regular season, I think takes away some prime opportunities for Logano to win, especially Gateway, where Team Penske is so darn good. We lose a Richmond race as well. We only have 1 of those now. Listen, he probably is going to get in. He probably is because it's Joey Logano.
Then why'd you pick him to miss?
Because it doesn't make sense. He was mediocre basically for 2 straight years, and it just pulls it out of his ass.
Jarrett, you're doing such a good job. You were actually swaying me for a moment. I hadn't thought about all the flat tracks being moved out of the regular season. Richmond lost a date. I was starting to buy it. I was like, oh shit, maybe Logano is gonna miss. And then you then you conceded.
Voodoo. No, but I'm saying Voodoo Black Magic. He's got the same horseshoe up his ass that Patrick Mahomes has. Just stuff
The Genie
always seems to
horseshoe.
go his way. But the thing is, I don't like to bet on stuff always going somebody's way. Or like a lot
Sure.
of people are like, how'd you bet on him not winning a super speedway? I'm like, okay, the best of the best go years sometimes over a decade. Like, okay, for instance, Dale Jr. fan here. I think Dale Jr. is one of the top 2 or 3, maybe even the greatest super speedway driver ever. But a lot of people seem to forget that the man went from 2004 to 2014 without winning a super speedway race.
Mm.
People never seem to remember that part. They'll it's like, 2004 was then followed up by 2014. He almost won a couple of them, stuff like that. So I listen, I am willing to be the one to be ballsy enough to put it out there into the universe. But I
That's
honestly
fine.
think that on this page, all 3 of us, I think, have some pretty big ones. Because I'll ask you, we talked about the SVG part here. I think the big one I'll ask you is Bubba here. Bubba Wallace was points-wise well good enough to make it had it not been for crazy winners. So why not have the 23? And we'll talk about the 77 because I think that'll be the real fun one. But I want to know why would Bubba not make it?
Well, look at other guys who missed last year. Chastain, Buescher, we just discussed. They were more consistent than Bubba Wallace last season. So Bubba Wallace was good. If we don't get a ton of crazy winners, yeah, he probably sneaks in. But here's a stat for y'all. Bubba Wallace has never won a regular season Cup Series race. Has 0. And this day and age, if you're going to run in that 12th to 18th points range, you got to win. You can't be 12th or 13th in the regular season points and expect to make the playoffs. You just can't. So I think history's working against Bubba Wallace. Typically, they start slow, maybe find their stride mid to late summer, peak in the playoffs, despite not being a part of it. Like that's why I have Bubba out. The thing working in Bubba's favor, though, is I do like his new crew chief. And I don't know if it's pronounced Denicky or Denike. I've heard it both ways.
I think it's Denicky.
But Charles, we'll call him Charles. They picked him up from the truck series. He won races with Christian Eckes last year. I think he's really good. I said at the time, I think it was a really good pickup. Booty Barker's a great culture guy, old school, likable, but they need an X's and O's, new game plan. And I think Charles could be that guy. So I have Bubba out because I think they're like, again, I put Chastain in. I thought Chris Buescher's going to make it. I think there will be some surprise road course winners like SVG, maybe an AJ Allmendinger. I just don't see Bubba Wallace, who's never won a regular season race, breaking through this year when there are so many other good. RFK's added a 3rd car. Spire, they're calling them a mini Hendrick. Like there are just too many good cars in that 10th to 25th range with Bubba that I think could leapfrog him. That's why I have Bubba, and that's why I have Carson Hocevar out to a degree. He's shown flashes, but the kid led like 15 laps all of last season. Like I give him one more year before I start saying, yeah, playoff contender.
I'll argue though.
I ain't saying playoff contender by any means.
You picked him to make the playoffs.
I ain't saying he's contender in it, but I'm saying Harrison Burton made it last year.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I'll argue this. I mean, he got 7 top 10s last season.
Who, Hocevar?
Yes.
I think he is aggressive enough, and he's honestly a good enough car to get a win, likely super speedway, but I think he's good enough to get a win.
Hey, he looked damn good at Homestead last year and that was a race. It was literally the best of the best, like the most, well-established, the guys competing for the championship, getting challenged in the top 5 by Carson Hocevar. So I'll say a lot of people don't like
that early where people haven't really got it figured out yet. If that team is pretty good.
We saw, was it 21? I think the Michael McDowell was like a top 5 guy in that race. Like, so I'll argue this when it comes to the Hocevar side of it. He had 7 top 10s last year, and this year, Spire is very much projected to take a step or 2 up. He also is not a rookie anymore. He has more experience with these cars. He has shown huge flashes too. I think he's a great talent. I know a lot of people don't like him. I think he's a great talent. And I think he is primed to take a step up. Now, if that's say he gets 5-7 more top 10s next year, like you're in the 12 to 14 range. I think that's for a full season. I think that's well enough to be in that scrum, because it's going to probably be a scrum. And I don't think that he gets worse as the season goes. I don't think Spire gets worse as the season goes. I only think that the more and more that the connections are building up, the Hendrick, the Chevy, all that stuff, that's been kind of built up on over the offseason. I think the more comfortable that team gets, the better they perform. And I think we kind of saw that start to play out a bit last year with them.
If he can be patient, a little more racecraft, I think I agree. I think he'll be in that top 20 regular season points group. But again, I just think if you're in that range, you got to win. And I'm not confident yet that he's going to win a race this year. But if he's there at the end, like we saw at Watkins Glen this last summer, he's got a shot. He just has to make it to the end, which is what bit him at the Clash the other night, is he made too many enemies before they got to the finish.
And then that leads us to where now the defectors are the ones positive about drivers compared to negative. 1 in, 2 out. This will be the interesting page, I think, too.
I had Brad out. I forgot about that.
For the listening audience, Danny has Brad Keselowski in, while me and Eric do not. I have Kyle Busch in, while Eric and Danny do not. And then Eric has both AJ Allmendinger and Michael McDowell in, while I and Danny do not either. So
it's interesting. I want to start with Kyle Busch because, admittedly, I'm rooting for him to win the Daytona 500 in his 20th attempt so much.
I kind of am too. It'd be such a good story.
I just don't expect him to be able to.
No. The odds are against him, but I mean, he almost won the summer race. Like, he's going to be in the mix, like he usually is. There's reasons to be confident. I struggled. I wanted to put Kyle Busch. So when I was laying out my 16, I looked back at the last few years and found that every year there are 3 to 4 on average surprise winners. You don't really expect, probably wouldn't have made the playoffs without the win, that kind of thing. And I suddenly was thinking about it, like, maybe Kyle Busch counts as a surprise winner if he were to win this year. And so I was so tempted to put him in, because while last year was such a down season, he was still so close at Kansas. He was so close at Darlington, like Daytona against Harrison Burton and Parker Retzlaff. Like, he was so close a few times last year. Law of averages says a Hall of Famer like Kyle Busch is eventually going to get that win. So I was very much on the fence about Kyle Busch. I'm with you, Danny. I kind of hope he gets in because the playoffs are better with Kyle Busch, but it's more RCR at this point. You look at the offseason moves they've made, at least that they've made public, and none of them like blow me away. I'm not sitting here like, whoa, they got Rodney Childers, or they got Charles Denicky.
Different than last year.
Yeah. They got, I think, someone from Stuart Haas. I can't remember who. It might have been Klossmeyer. I don't remember who they got. They made a couple
someone from Stuart Haas and last year. I mean,
yeah, I'm like, again, they made some moves to their credit, but none of them jumped out like, oh, that's a guy right there. They got someone good. So
my argument on this is, what did pretty much all of those races you guys brought up have in common? Like, what did all those near wins or running up front, what did that have in common for the most part?
I don't know, a lot of tears from
they were in the last third of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And I what I noticed too when I was looking stuff up about it is that usually there's 1 or 2 guys at the end of the season who don't make it or are not really contenders, just not there, whatever it might be. But the performance at the end of the season is kind of indicative to where they start off the next season. Now, I think somebody who's a veteran like Kyle Busch and can be more of a leader to a team like that, I would bank more on him being somebody who can lead that. Now, of course, people argue the Joey Logano side of that to me, so I fully acknowledge it can go both ways. But the other part of it too is the Kansas race. Of course, I was there. I remember that. The Darlington race, Daytona. One that we didn't mention was Michigan. Michigan, he was up front for a good portion of that race, led the race late.
Was he in the Lucas car then?
Yes.
He's good in that car. They need to sponsor the whole season.
they really do. And so to me, I don't think he is anywhere near his prime, but somebody like Kyle Busch, I don't think he's 2018 and on Jimmy Johnson. Like, I don't think he is, post-injury Dale Jr. or Tony Stewart. I still think he has some left in the tank. I don't think he's ever going to be a championship.
I think he's more like Jeff Gordon at the end.
Yeah, maybe like a step off, probably just because of the equipment. But like, I think like if he got back in a Gibbs car, he got in a Hendrick car. Like, I think Kyle Busch would run. You get a win or two. Like if Kyle Busch to the 48 happened, because everyone wants to will that into existence, I think he'd win a race or two, no problem. Like I think it would happen because of the equipment.
I mean,
I think Kyle Busch can carry it into at least one race this year.
he
Plus,
still showed he could hop in to RCR equipment his first time there, and he won 3 races that year. Contended for him last year, but I will say it is important to note that the latter half of RCR last season kind of has small asterisks to it because they were kind of rumored to have gotten some information.
We don't know. We don't know.
Allegedly.
We don't know. Well,
but at the same time, they still have that information heading into the new year. If allegedly that happened. And the other part of it too is, I will never bank on a super speedway, but let's be honest, that 8 team is probably the best at the Daytona, Talladega races. They're always
I
up
saw
front.
a stat that said in the last couple of years, they're like the best average finish at super speedways. Something like
it's
that.
like
The 8.
insanely consistent. Now again, I to me, it's if you can get up to the front 2 or 3 rows in the last 30 laps and they double wide freight train that thing, you have a shot.
Yeah.
And he's been pretty damn good at that. Again, I'm not going to bank on that. I'm not going to bet on that, but
RCR,
I just think
for the most part, no matter the car, has always had one car that just seemingly stood out on super speedways. For the longest time, it was Dale Earnhardt, then it was Kevin Harvick.
Clint Boyer for a while.
Clint Boyer had some times with him. Newman, maybe not. Dylan here and there, and now you got Kyle Busch.
Yeah. So, let's see the other ones here. Now that I don't have to defend my turf anymore here. Who wants to go next?
I'll talk about Allmendinger and McDowell real quick because it's simple. Again, the data says there will be some shock winners, and McDowell is bringing Travis Peterson and most of his 34 crew guys over to Spire. I think Spire is going to take at least a small step forward this year. McDowell has made the playoffs 2 of the last 4 years, thanks to Daytona win, an Indianapolis road course win. That's a pretty good batting average. 5 road courses. Oh, here's a stat for you. Just reminded me. Michael McDowell in the 6 super speedways last year averaged 29 laps led per race. That's a ton. Average.
Look at his starting position in those races.
That helped, of course. He's still got the same crew chief, though, so he could very well back up some of those qualifying efforts. Anyway, I just think McDowell, great shot at a surprise win. And AJ Allmendinger, he's back, and if SVG doesn't win, or the couple that SVG doesn't win, I wouldn't be surprised if Allmendinger is in contention. Keep in mind, Ty Norris, now over at Colleague, helping build that team up slowly but surely. And Allmendinger, on a part-time schedule, has finished 6th or better in 5 of the last 6 road course races besides Chicago. So he'll be in the mix. I think he'll get to the front in one of them and steal a win.
Really, whether it's McDowell or Hocevar, we have all actually agreed Spire should have a car in the playoffs this year.
I guess that's
I won't
true.
even rule out Justin Haley. Really, they have 3 drivers who I feel are capable of winning on a super speedway this year.
Yeah, and there's 3 of them to draft together. Like that's real numbers.
So for me, it was Hocevar and McDowell. It was between those 2 for the Spire driver. I thought I'd make it in. I see more upside with Hocevar. I think McDowell is somebody who can. I think he can steal those. I want him to. Trust me. Like if I had to say who my favorite driver is, it's probably Michael McDowell. Like I'm not actively every week like, God, man, McDowell did finish.
You're just doing it for the meme.
No, I mean I like McDowell. Like I like him. The AJ Allmendinger one for me, I think he could steal a road course one. I think on the other end though, that I think Shane Van Gisbergen is better and there's better equipment.
True.
And I mean, I'd even argue that there's probably 3 or 4 other guys who have easily caught up to AJ at this point. Now, again, I think the Roval is probably the big one that for sure he could win at. Now that's in the playoffs, but
it's a playoff race. Yeah.
We have guys who have proven they're good at road courses that just haven't gotten a win or many wins. Alex Bowman, no, he just won Chicago, so he got the road course win finally, but he's been very good at Circuit of the Americas,
all of Trackhouse
guys
has one.
And maybe that's why I'm not necessarily saying SVG will make the playoffs, because we do have a lot of other good road course racers. Yes, he did win one time, but he's got to, can he beat him every time?
And now we went from where I am on your side on this, Danny, to now I'm gonna turn on you. Why do you have bad Brad making it in?
I just still see good things in there, and it's also kind of like, yeah, I think Brad could win one race, kind of like last year. I think he could win one race.
Brad, to me, and I had him out, and that was a really tough decision because I like Brad for one, and it was awesome to see him finally win in his own equipment last year. It felt like maybe the floodgates would open. My thing is that they didn't. Like, he won that race at Darlington in May, I guess, took advantage of, Reddick and Buescher getting together. And like, Brad was good the rest of the year, but kind of up and down, kind of inconsistent. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. Didn't blow me away with laps led. If you look at his last 3 or 4 years, he's kind of flat there. So he's another guy I think will be in that 12th to 16th range. And, considering he has one win the past 3 years, I just don't love his odds.
Really appreciate that, Hunter Nixon. We're going to get into the rest of Super Chats later, but that's worth saying thank you for a $99.99. Appreciate the generosity, my man. He said, my luck, I'll drive 8 hours to Daytona just to see Logano win this race. So that's him win 5 times a person. If history repeats itself, 10 years ago, he didn't make the championship 4 because of someone's favorite driver doing a little bit of something with that. But 2015 was probably one of his best years ever. So should we really rule him out, in an odd number year?
2015 was a decade ago. Holy hell.
Yep.
That's
me.
crazy.
I was retired 10 years ago, boys.
I was realizing that next year, if there was one, it would be my 10-year class reunion. And I was like, doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Damn, high school.
But, all right, last one here. Now we're back all on the same page. And now we'll analyze this, which one we think could spoil the party. The ones we're all out on. I didn't even give them their own number font. I don't think we have to read them off. We can just say the rest of the field at this point.
There's a lot of unknowns on here. Cindric could do something. Dylan, they obviously won last year. Austin, I should say. Ty, no.
Noah Gragson, if front row is truly we've all 3 of us omitted all of the front row cars. Gragson, Gillen, Zane, they took a small step forward last year. They could take another step this year and all be in that conversation. I noticed none of us.
Riley Herbst is in a 2311 car. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. None of us have Daniel Suarez, who made the playoffs, I think 2 of the last 3 years.
I wanted to put Preece in but every year I just hear this is going to be Preece's year, and it never is. And I'm at the point now where it's like, prove it to me. Like, I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. God, it was hard not putting
Cole Custer and as being the only car that they must to focus on. I want to believe, but I can't believe enough.
I was close to putting in Todd Gilliland.
Me too, for super speedways.
Exactly. But again, it's back to where I go on this. Like, I cannot solely bet on a super speedway. Like,
that's fair.
That to me is just asinine to do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, but I couldn't do it. Let's see. A lot of people have Todd winning the 500. Listen, I'm all for him winning.
Be a fun upset win.
Cindric had a few good showings.
That's the thing.
I won a grand.
He's won the 500 before.
None of us. That's crazy to me that Austin Cindric, if you look at the stats, I know they don't always tell the full story. His rookie year was his best year. He's never gotten back to the standard he set in 2022. That's terrible. That's not good.
That's why I predicted him to be in 23. I was like, if he was already
only up from here,
and he got better as the year went too.
And really, I will say this: when he was making limited runs in 21 in the Gen 6, he looked really, really good at a Gen 6
in the road courses.
Remember Coda? He was the only one out on the dry tires, and he was still putting up amazing.
I think
laps
he is a driver. Had NASCAR not changed the car, he would have been doing a lot better, I think.
At the road courses for sure. We were at Road America, I remember, and he was good in that race that summer.
Yeah, you're probably right, Danny. This car is probably just throwing him for a loop because, like, you saw how good he was early on, and then I'm assuming everyone else kind of caught on. You saw how good he was, when he had his Xfinity run. Like, the other day, I was like, I went back to that Bristol race where him and Allmendinger crash at the end. It was awesome. It was an awesome race. And I'd forgotten, like, damn, like, he used to be like the guy that everyone was looking at about to pop up. Now, again, we've seen too where it takes a few years now for drivers to start doing well. So I'm like, I'm not going to sell on his career totally, but I just, this is year 4.
It's put up or shut up. When you drive for Team Penske, and there was the news recently that his father is sort of stepping down slightly. Like, he's still involved with Penske, but not as close as he was before. Like,
I'll use the term. Our church, our preacher recently announced he's not retiring. He's ramping down, is what he's saying. That's what Austin's dad is doing.
It's kind of what it sounds like, for sure. And so, just is that going to put any extra pressure on him? I don't know what his contract looks like. Obviously, Roger Penske and Tim Cindric are still very close. He's not going to do anything to screw his son out of a ride, but it is the top level of American racing. I mean, hard questions may have to be asked at some point if Cindric in year 4, or especially, I don't know what his deal looks like, but in year 5, if he isn't taking a real step forward. That race at Gateway last summer was the first, I would argue, I know he won the Daytona 500. That was the most impressive race of his career. It's probably the only Cup race he's run where I went,
damn, the top 5 all day, and he was
led
in the
50 laps.
Yes.
Like, that's the one race he's run in 3+ years where I went, damn, he looks like a real Cup Series contender. I can't say that about any other race I've seen Austin Cindric race since he got to Cup.
And I won like $1,200 or something last year thanks to that bet, a $5 bet, because for some reason they put it on. That's the only track he's consistently good at.
Oval, at least, yeah.
He's a gateway merchant.
And now it's a playoff race.
Yeah,
he's like, just find me a way to get into that dang playoffs.
Gonna buy a second home in St. Louis.
Good. Yeah, he's good at Atlanta, but again, I'm not gonna bet the house on a super speedway.
No,
I can't.
The thing is, we were talking about road course guys. Theoretically, based on what we saw before, he should be a road course guy, but he fell off with the car.
He's not. I'm gonna pull it up because his road course numbers are not that good anymore.
No, he was looking great at him in 21, but then the new car.
He had top 10s. He had only 2 top 10s on road courses last year.
And he's been decent.
Led 0 laps at road course. He hasn't led a lap on a road course since March 2023. 2 years ago was the last time he led a single lap. And granted, I'm not seeing Chicago in this mix, so maybe he led a lap at Chicago. But outside of Chicago, no laps led in 2 years.
Yeah,
he's not a good road course racer anymore. He's just not. He's average.
Yeah,
sad.
Oh well, that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah. We got kind of real. We got brutal there at the end.
Well, you kind of got to. That's probably what they're saying behind this. This is probably the conversations. Like, and I've like tried to tell the chat this. Like, these conversations we have about drivers not performing or needing to win or take a step or whatever. I guarantee these are the same, if not similar, conversations they probably have behind the scenes about these drivers.
Probably true. Been behind closed doors.
Unless you're Austin Dillon. Then you're safe no matter what. You can attempt to murder 2 men at the end of the race, and you'll get defended. But Danny, what's next on the docket?
Let's get back to having more fun. It's time for accountability, guys.
All right. So reminder, the prediction segment here, the accountability, all of it. We'll have 2 NASCAR Motorsports Show related predictions, have our accountability session every week, and we'll keep track of it and all that. It's a good week to be me because I got one right. Y'all came out in force last week. We had our biggest premiere ever. So good job, everybody. I said next year's, as of this year's, NWP premiere would have more concurrent viewers than last. Good job, y'all.
Good job, viewers. Woo.
Eric.
Stonks.
Had nothing.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Danny. Had nothing come off the
board. Yay.
Wow. All right. Moving on.
Which means adding last week
it's just post week 1. We had everything last week and now nothing. So,
which means I have, made my lead go a little further out. I am at 55.55 repeating.
He's taking the layups. He's week 1 merchant.
Hey, that wasn't a layup. I'll the week 1 merchant. I'll take that one. Eric at 40% and Danny at 11.111 repeating, so on and so forth. All time, I'm still up 43.56. Eric at 32.48. Danny at 29.41.
Eric still hanging in pretty close to each other.
Regression for me will probably come back to the mean soon. So I'll lead off. I wrote down like all my predictions. Like I just started writing a bunch of them down, and now I have to actually choose out of those predictions. And I'll say this one. I think I will put a number to it because just saying multiple makes it too vague. I think Chase Elliott will have 3 or more wins this year.
Okay. I guess I go second. Our next episode will be post Daytona 500 qualifying. 2 of the currently 9 open entries will qualify in on speed. My prediction is Justin Allgaier will be one of those.
Uh-oh.
Did I take yours, Danny?
Danny EXE is
Here,
not
here,
working.
you can have that one. I'll make my other.
No.
You can have that one because here's my other prediction I thought about making because I think Elio Castroneves will get the other spot on speed. So I'll take that one. That'll be my prediction. Elio gets one of the spots.
I'll be Justin Allgaier.
There you go. There we go. We're teaming up.
All right. Then I will put, let's see. I mean, we talked about it already. Nobody made the prediction yet. So I'm going to put it pen to paper and claim this one. A Spire driver will make the Cup playoffs.
That's fine. Although we all predicted that technically.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm putting it on the record.
Okay. All right.
But I said one. I think only one will.
Just one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make it a little more difficult this year since everyone says it take a layup. I'll take a short jump shot.
I don't think I could say multiple laters though.
Never know though.
I hope you didn't take this one wasn't on your list too, Danny. But I do think Bowman Gray will be on the Cup schedule next year. That's my next prediction.
I do have Bowman in here in this prediction in some way. I'm not willing to put him back on the front row, but I will just say Alex Bowman will qualify no worse than 5th in Daytona 500 qualifying. That's not with the heat.
I'd buy that.
Qualifying.
Just Wednesday night.
Make me have the graphic being made during pre-show. All right. That's awesome. What do we got next?
What do we have next? I think we only have one segment. We're really 2 segments left.
Yeah.
All right. It is time for us to hide the chat. It's random driver.
Oh, shoot. I forgot about this one.
Woohoo! We reached it.
How can you forget it? You're literally leading the standings, dummy.
All right. And then I believe we can also probably predict the Daytona 500 poll after this. That might be fun.
3 segments left.
Yeah, because that's like the only thing we have to predict.
Yeah. We'll do a bonus point for that one. I had people like, we need to do a bonus point. I'm like, funny enough, we already do. All right. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Already getting guesses in the chat.
How?
All right.
How?
I know. All right. Last 5.
Are they right?
No. Last 5 drivers on here. So Danny got the finale last year with Joey Logano. And then Eric has been last 5 on a heater here for the last 5 with Morgan Shepherd, Dawson Cram, Buck Baker, and then last week for the season premiere, Elton Sawyer.
That's right. Nice.
So,
okay.
There we go.
In my wheelhouse.
Alrighty, let's start this off. I will say it's another one where we do have limited clues, so guess away.
That does not bode well.
This random driver started their racing career on dirt.
As many do, yes.
This random driver was an Iowa native. Harlan, Iowa.
Does that mean
where this driver was born?
I'm trying to figure out the tense there. Does that mean this
Don't
driver is still with
overthink
us?
this. Don't overthink this.
Okay. I'm trying to scoop up extra hints.
This random driver was inducted into the Hawkeye Downs Wall of Fame in 2008.
Man, I don't know any. This is bad. I feel like I can't think of a single race car driver from Iowa, and I know there's probably some obvious ones I'm missing.
This random driver made a name in racing through Iowa as well as Nebraska and other states in the Great Plains.
I sometimes forget about those states. I'm so sorry.
It's
like the one area of the country I've not been to. I've never been to like Nebraska, Iowa, the Dakotas.
I've been to Kansas.
Yeah, I've been as far north as Kansas, but I've stopped in Kansas City.
Here in Nebraska's nice. This random driver raced one event in the Cup Series for the Wood Brothers. One race in the 21. This random driver raced the numbers 21, 31, 50, 58, 73, and 76.
Can you repeat those for me one more time?
Yeah, no problem. 21, 31, 50, 58, 73, and 76.
Could you use it in a sentence, please?
This random driver raced the numbers.
Oh, shit. Language of origin. Oh, okay.
Could
Iowa.
use the driver's name in a sentence, please.
Yes.
Random driver raced the numbers.
Oh, no.
This
Has the chat gotten it yet?
A few have. Damn. This random driver drove for 3 manufacturers: Hudson, Chevrolet, and Ford. So, this random driver had only 23 NASCAR Cup Series starts.
And one of them was for the Wood Brothers.
This random driver won 2 NASCAR Cup Series races.
Oh.
So they were low-key good, even though they didn't do much.
Yeah. Well, they had to get into that Hawkeye Wall of Fame somehow, I suppose.
I wonder, did they win one race for the Wood Brothers?
This random driver was the most successful and only driver to win in the number 73 car.
Oh, I wish I knew more about the 73 car winning.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I was about to say Andy Jankowiak.
Is that your guess?
Sure, why not? Okay, yeah.
We need to get a buzzer or something for
that.
that.
Wouldn't make any sense. Dude's like 35 years old.
Driving a Hudson.
Yeah.
This random driver was one of the first drivers to call out NASCAR for poor officiating, scoring, and scoring errors.
This feels like a real, like, a pioneer of the sport. Like someone who's, we
Seems
should
like
know
they-
this one.
Seems like they didn't make many starts because NASCAR didn't want them to.
Yeah, this feels like an important figure in the sports history that we should know.
This random driver caught flack for blaming scoring errors on the drivers' wives because at the time they kept track of the laps completed and the amount of pit stops in a race. Lee
Man, I
Petty's
wish I
wife
knew
in
more about
particular.
this.
This sounds like a hell of a guy here. This I don't know. Yeah, I don't know these stories.
This random driver's 2 cup wins were at Atlanta as well as the Nashville Fairgrounds.
That's closer to home for y'all.
Right, but we got 5 clues left.
I don't think I'm going to get it, sadly.
You can skip to the last one, honestly.
This random driver was part of one of the most major NASCAR history-altering wrecks ever, which pretty much ended his competitive career as well as the competitive career of another driver.
Ooh.
Yeah, I should know this, and I don't.
This random driver passed away in Reno, Nevada in 1981, so a while ago.
Whoa, okay.
Heart attack.
That caught me off guard. That's too bad.
This random driver only raced in 1 Daytona 500, DNQing the other 2 attempts. This random driver was the first driver to win the 1959 Daytona 500. Accusing Lee Petty of having actually been 2 laps down, but scored wrong by his wife.
Oh, what was that
That's the
guy's
last clue.
name? Yeah, what was that guy's name?
Yeah.
I'll give you an extra hint. This dude was attached to Lee Petty at the hip in important moments. The career-ending crash for Lee Petty involved this driver as well going over the wall.
Oh, that I did not know, but I know all about the photo finish argument.
Yeah, I do not remember the name though, sadly.
Oh, I
Throw
should.
some names out and see.
It's like, can we get an initial?
I wouldn't talk out loud, give anything away either. You
No,
guys.
I'm not. But I was asking for an additional hint.
Which initial of first or last name would you guys like? You guys can consult on this.
I feel like T is coming to mind.
Well, I mean first or last name. Like
what was
which
his name?
initial would you like?
Oh, first.
J.
No.
I'm so mad I don't know this.
Do you guys want the last name initial?
Yeah.
Sure.
B.
Johnny Benson. No, that's not it.
Johnny Beauchamp.
That might
Danny's
be it.
got it.
Good call. Good
Danny's
call.
got it.
I don't know why that name randomly come to me,
I
but
can't believe I
that's
forgot
it.
that name. I'm so annoyed.
Once I heard Jay, I was like, Johnny Beauchamp? That's an old
Shout
school name.
out to Michael Marut showing up on my shorts feed talking about the history of the 73. Because I was at a loss. I'm like, who am I going to have like a really good pull for a random driver this week? And then I saw Michael's short and I'm like, yes, thank you. So Michael, if you're watching, thank you.
Side note, I saw some people in the chat now that they were saying Tiny Lund, and that name was coming to my mind for some reason. So that's why I was thinking T.
I'm going to write that name down. I'm kidding.
That was
I already
good
have
pull.
that name down in the list. So that's 2 weeks in a row. We've went down to the wire with this baby. Nice.
And that was not a good one. I don't feel like I truly got that, but I did.
And we limped across the finish line there, but
I
well
believe
played.
that-
You salvaged it for us, Danny.
I thought Jarrett was going to win this one, honestly.
Yeah.
After the initials, I wasn't going to give any more clues. I was going to have you guys just squirm the rest of the way.
Hey, we need to note this, Ross Crashtain, Eric. We need to note this. Tiny is also from Harlan. That Ross Crashtain said.
I have a list right now. Of
Tiny
like almost
Lund.
1,000 NASCAR drivers, and Tiny Lund is on that list. So eventually we'll get.
We're going to be ready when you say Tiny Lund.
I'm gonna get. That'll be
Well,
my
I won't
first guess
say it.
next
One of
week.
you guys will. All right. Daytona 500 poll.
Who will get the poll?
And since that's right, we got to show them the order of the pick points, because the reverse order will be the way we go about it. And here we are.
Once again, I am the points leader after the clash. Yay! I
got points this year. I got points this year. Woohoo! It's like 2 years in a row.
And chat, you are the caboose right now, my friends.
Damn.
Which means the chat will be the ones picking first.
Whoa, thank you, Justin. We're gonna get to those super chats later, but really appreciate that. We will get to your question soon enough, my friend. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got the super chat stage break coming up in just a moment. But chat, you guys are on the clock. You have to pick your Daytona 500 poll winner for a bonus point.
Yeah, and I actually had to have 4 choices again. I haven't had that many in a while.
Let's see what we got. There's a few 48s.
Seeing a lot of 48 so far.
That's a good amount of 48s. 9.
I think Spencer Purcell said 58. I think he meant 48.
Some 34s.
I'm gonna give him Bowman. I'm seeing a lot of him.
I think it is Bowman.
All right.
It's pretty safe one.
Well, that leaves my top pick still on the board, and I've already seen a few people put this number in. I'm going to go with William Byron.
Okay. It's unlikely he goes 2 years in a row, and I know he won't have the illegal glove this time around, but
that was awesome.
Ford and those Penske aligned front row cars were really fast in qualifying last year. I'll go Logano.
And I'm going to go with my pick. He was really good last year. I think he can be just a smidge better with this new team. Michael McDowell getting the pole in a Chevrolet.
All right. That's about the quickest we had. And the thing is, I can't even put the win pick graphic up this year. This
win the
week.
poll.
Poll?
Who will win the poll?
All righty. Well, I think that covers all the main segments. Danny, we got
we can
chat stage break.
Pick back up with the final super chats. We ended off with grid flow. That was a fun one. Scroll back up here to the top. GN NASCAR fan 24, appreciate $10. I don't think a Brazil clash is a good idea. December, January, February, or Brazil summer. Brazilians leave to go on vacation elsewhere at that time. Source, I'm a Walt Disney World cast member. Oh, I guess he said a lot of Brazilians coming to Disney World at that time. So
Interesting.
Zardy appreciated the $2. This is going to be very easy. Why not have Daytona 500 the same day as the Super Bowl? Because that should answer your question.
Let me answer your question with a question. Do you want nobody to watch the Daytona 500?
Hunter, I appreciate your generosity, my man, but I'm scared. You got to save some money for Daytona coming up, man. You got to have money to spend there.
My goodness.
Appreciate it, though, bud. I appreciate it.
Very generous.
He's got to be nice to me. You know, I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, and his Bulldogs own me, so he's just showing the love.
He's paying the Georgia tax.
Yep. Rob will appreciate the $1.99. When do we start calling speed weeks speed days? More like speed evenings.
I like
speed
your
half days.
At the top of the show, Jerry, you mentioned the speed business days. I thought that was clever.
Basically what it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Fred Dog 81, appreciate the $5. Would moving the Clash to a Monday with proper advertising work, like a Monday night, I guess is what they're saying. That way, no matter the week, you can avoid the NFL and have no major sport competition. If they were going to do any Monday night race, that's probably the one I would experiment with. You know, don't risk a points race to be on a Monday. That's the only one I would probably be okay with experimenting with.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Monday could Monday's probably the best weeknight to have a sporting event. Like look at football, look at baseball, what they've done. Look at Daytona when it's put on a Monday night, it always still does really well comparatively.
And really, in terms of cable TV, like your biggest competition you'd have on Monday nights is no longer on TV. Monday Night Raw, you know, a lot of crossover between wrestling and NASCAR fans. That's moved to Netflix now, so that's not even really a factor on TV anymore. So.
If Netflix can get the stream working,
it's done really good since they've had it. So, Ross Crashtain, appreciate the $5. Bush doesn't make sense to replace Xfinity when half of the drivers are under 21. I mean, they have the pole award now, don't they? Again, or did they get rid of that? I don't remember.
I think they might still do the Bush Light pole, and there aren't that many. I mean,
21 means 21.
Who wasn't given a drink before turning 21?
I'm trying to even think about it, like, because I did think about that and thought, I don't think that's a good point. But then I was like, no, Allgaier, Austin Hill, if Chandler Smith was still in it, he'd be over the age. Carson Kvapil is over 21. Nick Sanchez is over 21. I'm like, you know, there's only a few guys, Sawalich, Zilich, maybe a couple more. But actually, like Ryan Sieg, I mean, Brendan Poole, even I think Parker Retzlaff, I think, is over 21. I could be wrong about that one. Like it's not as many kids as I think people realize. Let me look that up. Is Parker over 21? He is. Yes.
Wow. All right.
Daniel Meredith Jr. Appreciate $1.99. Would love to see Casey Kane get a top 5 at Rockingham. I think we can all agree on that one. We would love to see Casey Kane hopefully even contend for the win. That'd be fun.
I think I predicted that on last week's show that Kane gets a top 5.
Yep.
Real quick, just on air production meeting. Eric, when you said first 6 races, did you count the duels for Ford winning?
No, not the duel. I counted the clash, but not the duels.
All right, that helps me. I was putting that down last week, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Needed Blaney to win that one.
Bobby Blair, appreciate the $4.99. I always love that name, Bobby Blair. It just sounds like a radio name. This is Bobby Blair with your Saturday morning hits.
And this is Bobby Blair here in the 1920s.
Bobby Blair, appreciate the $4.99. It's going to take me a while getting used to Chase Briscoe and the Bass Pro number 19. Yeah. Well, you better get used to it because that's the only sponsor he's got this season. So he's going to be seeing it a lot.
It's funny when I was watching, Riss walked in the room and she's like, wait, huh? Because it's like she doesn't follow as closely as us, and I don't talk business as much to her. And I like, oh yeah, Trix retired from full-time driving this year. She's like, She just sort of looked at me and just said something in French and walked out. And I'm like, I feel like
Oh.
she's disgusted.
He going fishing, Riss. He going fishing. Daniel Meredith Jr., appreciate the 49. I will say Kyle Larson will accomplish all 1,100 miles. No rain. I believe he'll finish in top 5 in Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600. Be good redemption for him for sure.
I'd be down.
NASCAR 2414, appreciate it, 999. Hey, NWP guys. In one word, how was the Bowman Gray race? I didn't watch or listen. I'm still getting used to no Truex Jr. Well, he's in Daytona, so you better watch. I'm also getting used to new announcers on radio since my favorites retired. In one word, how was Bowman Gray? Fun. I'll just
Yeah, I was
say it
going
was
to
fun.
say that. Yeah, that was the word that came to my head too.
I would say quality.
Yeah.
Premium.
It didn't feel like a cheap gimmick. It felt like a legit deal.
Blake Thiemann, appreciate $1.99. Hope Mike Joy can maintain his energy all year. Yeah, that's definitely something. That's definitely something that you got to think about. We don't know how many more years we're going to be able to see Mike Joy continue to commentate for us. We started to see many announcers retire. We just saw I'm blanking on a name from PRN. He stepped down.
Did Striegel? Wasn't it him? Or am I wrong? No, not PRN.
No,
Doug
not
Rice.
him. Doug Rice, yeah. We
Yeah,
saw
so-
Doug Rice step down. We've seen people a lot of people from the radio side have stepped down. Yeah, it's don't know how many more years we got seeing him. I know my Tennessee Volunteers, the longtime voice of them, Bob Kessling. This is he's done a football, and he's in his last year of the basketball team. And Mike Keefe, who was the voice of the Tennessee Titans, will take over for that. So yeah, we're reaching an era where a lot of legendary voices from our favorite sports are starting to retire. So we know it's not going to be much longer for Mike Joy, I'm sure. Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate the first $99.99 super chat. Where he said, my luck, I'll drive 8 hours to Daytona just to see Logano win this race, as I've seen him win 5 times in person.
Wow.
That feels like how I was with Kyle Busch for the longest time. I think it was I saw him win. Lost how many times I saw him win at Bristol and then seen him win at other tracks, but now it's like, well, kind of wish I'd see Kyle Busch win again because I kind of miss it.
I felt like I saw Harvick win 2 or 3 times in a row, and I was kind of like, oh gosh, Harvick again? Okay. But that's the only time I can remember being like,
you got anyone
tired.
you feel like that, Jarrett?
Denny Hamlin. I've seen him win like 9 times.
Yeah, I've seen him win a lot too.
Denny and Kyle Busch a bit. And then younger guys, Chase Elliott. I've been at like 4 or 5 Elliott wins. So.
I have been at a lot of Elliott wins.
Yeah.
I've been to 2 Elliott wins. No, 3 with the All-Star. I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Daniel Meredith Jr., appreciate the $1.99. Thoughts on no more rookie stripes? I like the stripes. I'm feels like it's just supposed to be there. I mean, it's not just NASCAR. A lot of other, just local racetracks adopted that, yellow stripe thing on rookies too.
I'll miss him a little bit. Not the biggest deal in the world. I'm sure they took him away to help the teams and sponsors have more space, bright colors.
Selling that space, I think now.
Yeah.
A few teams had that at the.
I think
at the
that's
Clash.
probably what it is. But
did they do some kind of rookie indication in IndyCar and F1 too?
I do not
Don't
know.
follow closely enough to know. Probably.
Yeah, I didn't know if they did something major. Austin Blansett, appreciate the $4.99. We need to bring back points for leading the most laps, along with getting a point for leading a lap. Just make sure that winning provides more points.
Yeah, for sure most laps should get a point. I'd like that.
Yeah, I agree on that. But then again, it's like leading the most laps was kind of replaced by winning the stages. I don't know. So
that's actually an interesting way to put it. You're kind of right. I still would like to see it, but that's a good point.
Yeah, because if theoretically, if you were leading at the end of the first 2 stages, you made a lot more points than usually leading the most laps would have for sure. So
I still think being dominant should be rewarded, especially at the road courses where stages don't have any indication anymore of who was actually running up there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Each half does their own. We always say people would race differently under different systems. So, it is
Add
it is
it
what
in,
it is.
man. I'm saying add it in. I want it.
Austin Blancett, appreciate the 499. What's more likely in the next 5 years? NASCAR gains a new OEM or loses one OEM? Me personally, I don't think Toyota is long for sport. Unfortunately, if anything, I think Toyota is not going anywhere. They
They're
have
probably
seen
the safest.
that they do what?
They're probably the safest of the three.
Yeah, that they have probably, and I say this as a former Toyota salesman, I think they've made a lot better impact on their American sales by being in NASCAR, if anything.
I think they'd probably add just because they're going to eventually they'll get the new engine. They keep saying it's coming in 2 years, and it's been like 5 years.
I mean, even their street car to Camry seems like they've made a shift on the street version because of what they assume will eventually happen in racing forms too. It feels like.
Yeah, I think they'll gain.
Yeah, I think it's more likely to gain than lose one. Justin Drake, appreciate the 999. Eric's got to catch up on predictions for 2025. Jarrett had 25 to your 5. Come on, man.
Oh, shoot. Oh, when you go back to the predictions page, have you made 25 predictions already for this year?
Well, I mean, we have it in our itinerary. I thought I made like 9 this year.
I thought you had like 9. I had like 5 or 6 or something.
You had 10 come off the board. I had 5 right. You had 4 right. I have 9 off the board. You have 10.
I'll make some more predictions. Don't worry.
I mean, all time, I've had 119 come off the board. Eric's had 117 come off the board, and Jarrett still got some that are hiding in there. He's only had 101 come off the board.
Yeah, so
We're pretty good with it.
Yeah.
Jarrett sets up a lot of long-term things that just kind of hide from us. So that's
It's
why
a fun. It's fun part of it.
That's why the numbers are a little skewed all time a little bit.
It's a fun of it, man. You got to have ones that pop up so you don't have each week where it's just a bunch of blanks.
Yeah. Austin Blancett, appreciate it. 999. Here's my prediction. I think the Truck Series is done in the next 10 years. It's a money pit that provides little to nothing in talent development, plus only the most diehard of diehards watch it.
10 years is a long time.
I could see ARCA going away over to Truck Series because it feels like we may be setting up to a point where, honestly, late model racing is a better way to prove your talents and grow yourselves than ARCA.
We might already be at that point, but
yeah,
ARCA is a great chance for kids to at least try big tracks for the first time.
If anything, ARCA would I think I honestly don't see any of them going away for now. When I say for now, for like 10, 15, one, because of contracts. I mean, there's just so much money for the broadcasters to gain from it. But the thing is, like, everyone keeps saying EV, like that's going to replace it. It's like that we don't even have the infrastructure like to have it fully go in place in the next 10 to 15 years. Like people think, like, why the hell would we bank an entire series off of that? I know that people have talked about it for Xfinity or for truck or being replaced or an SUV series. Like, I don't want to watch a bunch of mom vans race.
And it feels like if NASCAR is going to invest that much money into an EV series, no offense, they're not going to want guys who are developing their skills in racing, and they're going to want some stars to step into that.
Yeah, I think it's going to stay status quo for the next probably 2 deals TV wise. It's all about the TV side, I think.
Yeah, I think TV has funded it for at least the next 7. That's why when he said 10, I'm like, well, 8, 9, 10 years, that is a long time. But I think I'm with you. I don't think it changes.
Yeah. Justin Drake, appreciate that. 49.99. Here's a question. Do we see Ty Gibbs act more like he did in Xfinity this year? My prediction is yes. He Logano blocked Justin Haley at the Clash. He then tried to spin Haley, had a big hissy fit under caution, like a diamond spooned 5-year-old.
Diamond spooned.
Not even gold. He's got diamond.
I want to see like if this happens again, kind of thing, because it's Bowman Gray. Like young drivers are gonna get chewed up and spit out.
Yeah, I don't want to read too much into people's emotional responses to
Like,
Bowman Gray.
Let's not pretend that Josh Berry wasn't knocking every driver out of the way, and neither was Justin Haley too. I mean,
Yeah,
it was Bowman Gray.
yeah. I mean, I think all of us picked Gibbs to make the playoffs this year, so obviously we all expect him to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate your second 99.99 super chat. Again, very generous, dude. Appreciate that. You know you don't got to do that, so we appreciate it. And have fun in Daytona when you go, man. But he said, you guys are awesome and always love the show. NASCAR is back, baby. You know NASCAR's back when you see these three idiots on your YouTube subscription feed.
That is facts. That's the most factual thing ever stated.
Yeah. I thought this was a fun one earlier. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what you guys say. Ferg, appreciate $2. Favorite Sam Mayer moment? I'd love to know.
Honestly, for me, hanging out after we interviewed him and talking like football while he was in the RV at Road America, like that was fun. Because then the next time I saw him was Nashville. We were on the media side, and he was like overheating. And I just started talking to him, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, good, sit here. I'm not going anywhere." And his PR people would be like, "Okay, like Sam, you do need to leave pit road eventually. Like you're overheating. Let's go to the medical center." Or like, we'll talk about the Browns later because he's a Browns fan. So that to me was because it was just like an hour I just sat talking football with him. And
why is he a Cleveland Browns fan? Isn't he from Wisconsin?
I think he had like a reasoning. I think it was like
I'm sure he has a good reason.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. I feel bad that I forget.
You got to have a really good reason to be a Cleveland Browns fan.
Hey man, I give there's two ways to have pain as a football fan. It's either be really good all the time and then have your heart broken, or just suck. As a Vikings fan on the other end of that pendulum, I respect Browns fans going through it, man. Like it's got to be rough.
As far as on track, I know people are going to recently say his photo finish win over Ryan Sieg at Texas, and that was pretty epic. I still think back to that when he had at Bristol in the trucks when he was 17. Yeah. Like that still to me is like I that set a really high bar. I don't think he's ever quite been able to get back to. But that was like, okay, he's got real talent. Not many people can do what he just did.
Yeah.
Not really. I guess a Sam Mayer moment that is more recent. Last year, Nashville Super Speedway in the media center, they have a bathroom over the corner. I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh well, we all do it. And then here comes Sam in full fire suit and everything. And I'm like, just he's chatting with me, and I chat back and look at him and say, "Well, you answered a question that think is as old as time. What do NASCAR drivers do when they need to go to the bathroom? They just go to the bathroom."
I love
hard-hitting journalism.
I love how different all those were.
Yeah, very different.
All right.
Rouser, appreciate it, $2. I love NASCAR, but I watch NFL first. Is that rare? No, I mean NFL is king. So
the ratings suggest that's pretty common.
That's just normal. You are a normal sports fan.
Yeah.
Scrapyard 24C, appreciate the $5. Somewhere up here where they're playing football, which who cares? Larry McReynolds. I'm not getting the reference. You guys know what that one is?
He did this weather thing back in the day. He's like, right here it's looking really, really good for us. And then here it's supposed to have a bunch of snow and rain, but they're playing football. We don't care about that. And then he was like, it was a NASCAR race day thing or like trackside or one of those shows or something. Might have even been a Fox show. I don't know.
Dang.
But yeah. So
gotcha.
Brutal takedown by Larry Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Daylight PNW Productions. Appreciate $9.99. I have an idea for the fourth manufacturer for NASCAR: Chevrolet trucks, Ford, Toyota, Cadillac for Xfinity and Cup. Thoughts?
I'm not talking about Cadillac taking over the GM sort of slot. Yeah, it could happen.
Maybe.
I've seen a one or two like theoretical like just looks at a Corvette on a Cup body, and not opposed to it, but I just don't know if Chevrolet will go that direction or not. It's such an iconic car, but it's not really a commonly bought car either, so I don't know if they'll do that.
It was a Chevy SS.
Well, true. That's very, very true.
Like, when's the last time any of us have seen a Chevy SS on the road?
I've seen one ever.
Yeah. I saw one.
I think a lot of people forgot that was actually a car that was sold and it wasn't just made for NASCAR.
But
Yeah.
did anyone actually buy it? Because I swear I never saw one.
I guess it was most sold in Australia.
Oh,
That's what I read in an
Yeah.
article.
Chevy
like 10 years ago.
SS. Here it is. Wait, I'm gonna see if I can find one used.
Yeah, how
Wish
much
me
does a
luck, though.
Chevy SS cost these days? You're gonna find NASCAR Chevy SSs for sale somehow.
Wait, is this car that nice? Used 2017 SS, 60,000 miles is going for over 40K.
That's just also the market too.
No, but then there's another one that's going for 38. This one's 37.
Well, it is rare, so maybe
I guess that must be it. It's a rare car.
well, you got to think about this too. Like a lot of cars, if they're like really common, will have a lot of parts, and it's probably really easy and cheap to fix or get new ones. Whereas, like,
True.
if you're buying, it's the same thing with like old cars. If you're buying a car from the 70s, you're probably not going to have that many parts for said car.
That must be a rarity thing. Because I'm over here thinking like, damn, what's my Camry worth then? If these things are going for $40,000, jeez.
Funny, I looked up used Chevy SS, see what's around me. There's a few, mainly Carvana is what I'm seeing. Show me first, but a 2014 Chevrolet SS, 90,000 miles, 31,000. 2016 Chevy SS, 67,000 miles, 38,000. 2017 somehow has only 9,000 miles on it, $53,000.
I'm seeing, I see one here in Texas for $53,000 for a little sedan.
You can get a 2016 Chevrolet Camaro SS Coupe, 80,000 miles for $25,990.
Damn.
Interesting.
They
Well,
vary.
you know.
Yeah.
Justin Drake, appreciate the 499. I was talking about prediction videos. Sorry for the confusion, but yeah, Jarrett made 25 predictions in a new video for 2025.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's the thing I do every year. I've done it since 2020, where like the year, like I did. So at the start of each decade, I've only done it for one. I did 20 predictions for the 2020s, and then I'm like, well, people seem to like that. Like, I'll just do it for the year. And so I did 21 for 21. It's went 25. And the running joke is like Jarrett's going to go until he has to just do one for 2101. One prediction for 2101, because it's all my geriatric ass would be able to speak at that point. So,
like, dislike, appreciate the $5. NASCAR's biggest Mandela effect. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. It was Ty, not Austin Dillon, that Harvick was talking about, and Silver Spoon was never mentioned. He said spoon fed.
yeah.
Interesting. I don't actually remember the quote. I do know it was Ty Dillon.
Yeah, because that was Austin wasn't even racing in that race. I think he was kind of more defending Ty afterwards.
Was that after? Was that 2014 or like? No, it was before Harvick left RCR. So it was 2012 or 2013. So Austin wasn't full time in Cup yet.
Was it a truck race?
It was a truck race.
A truck race.
Yeah. Okay. So Ty would have been in the 3 truck at that time.
I think so.
What truck was Harvick in? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's just been so damn long. It's been like almost 50.
You don't remember everything that happened at every race in 2013?
Oh, trust me. We'll have the encyclopedia sleuths in the chat immediately tell me how much of a dunce I am.
I mean, I don't remember what truck Harvick was driving in that race.
Now, I'll be honest. Until about 2020, I did not watch every Xfinity and truck race.
Someone said the 14 truck for NTS Motorsports.
Oh,
the hell even is that? I've never heard of
that.
That
sounds like a random driver clue.
I don't know who NTS Motorsports even is, and I probably should.
Gosh, Kevin Harvick will be a fun one when we eventually do him.
NTS Motorsports.
I told you guys, I have a list of like over 1,000 drivers to choose from. Like, we are set until like we have the heat death of the sun when we run into it.
Be 95 years old and you're still going.
This random driver was called a Mickey. A Mickey champion. Sitting there shaking the whole time.
This random driver, he passed away last year.
I'll have like dementia or something, and like 3 clues later, be like, this random driver was called a Mickey champion. Jerry already said that. Said what?
This Mickey driver was called a random driver.
This Chase Elliott was a Mickey driver. Again, I'm just shaking the whole damn time.
We still got one more super chat. We're having too much fun. Talk about when we're old farts.
According to some I've seen, we are old. I like saw this tweet from this teenager who's like, why do people follow these old YouTube channels? Like, and it was like our channels. I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't been around that long. Oh my God, it's been like 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years is like 70 internet years.
Yeah. It's kind of like dog years. You just like times it by 7. So
Yep.
Yeah, but we're supposed to
exactly.
retire in like 2 years, aren't we, guys?
I'm waiting for my pension, but I don't think it's going to happen.
yeah.
Austin Bland said, appreciate the $4.99. With McDonald's and Wendy's in the sport, just imagine if Chick-fil-A sponsored Elliott. It makes too much sense. Love
It
you
really
guys.
does.
Good to have you back.
Thank you. That was a very nice comment. Yeah, I mean, listening to Nicholas earlier say that he's pitched to Chick-fil-A and he almost got them to do a Saturday race is hilarious to me. That's crazy.
And we got our chicken mention this week.
I always thought if the team could have had, the right driver get this for them and make it happen, them with Morgan Shepherd's Racing for Jesus team on Saturdays would have made a lot of sense if they could have got the right driver.
Not to pivot from chicken, but like Wendy's and McDonald's are more known for like burgers. So what's a burger place? Like besides Burger King, let's not talk about BK. Let's get them out of here. What's
Five
another
Guys?
burger place? Five Guys?
Whataburger.
Oh, we've seen Whataburger.
I tried
before.
Whataburger for the first time a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
What?
Wait, what did you get? Did you like it?
I just got a double cheeseburger. I had a cheat day and I hadn't taken mine from the last week, and Riss picked me up from John's because we were like recording or doing something for the e-ticket event, which by the way, this Friday, John's channel, I'll be on there. So should be fun. And I'm like, I'm really hungry and I just want something warm. And I'm like, she's like, well, we got this at home. I'm like, I really don't want to cook again because like I've been cooking a lot more lately and learning because I figure being a parent, I'm probably gonna have to learn that stuff more than just
Gotta get ready to say we have food at home.
Exactly. We have McDonald's at home and it's just me burning it. And she's like, well, Jared, it's 11:30 at night. There's really nothing open, like unless
Except for Whataburger.
She's like, unless you want Taco Bell, and I'm like, I'd prefer my organs to stay intact. So we were going past, and I was going over the bridge. I'm like, well, I'll give Whataburger a shot, and she was nice enough to let me order it. I got her some stuff, and I was like, it's pretty good. It's decent. Like it's the burger. Like this thing, I don't like greasy food. Like it just doesn't make me feel good. It's messy. It's a big reason I don't eat fried chicken. Like I'll eat grilled chicken, but it was a juicy burger and it wasn't because of grease. Like it's the whole reason I hate McDonald's burgers. Like just gross. And so like I bit into it and I was like, damn, this is like when I make burgers at home. Like there's like that, there's that nice burger juice, got the blood in there.
Oh God. Okay. Got the grill lines.
Yeah. And I was like, that's pretty good. I got, I gave my tomatoes and pickles to her because, she wanted them and she's, I don't know, maybe it's a pregnancy thing. She really, really liked them right now.
She just eats pickles and tomatoes by themselves.
Oh yeah. She loves pickles and tomatoes
that's a little concerning.
in general.
That's a little concerning.
Salads, people hate to see her coming right now.
If you've ever watched a show, How I Met Your Mother, I think it's How I Met Your Mother. They did like the olive test. It's like where one partner doesn't like olives and the other does. So you have someone to give your olives to. Like that's me with pickles and tomatoes. I hate tomatoes on their own and she loves them. And so like, here you go.
I am the textbook like ketchup, marinara sauce, tomatoes. Get that. Get out of here.
Look at she's in the chat too, by the way. She's like, give me the jar.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed your Whataburger experience. I had Whataburger about a week ago. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning and it was the only thing open. And I just ordered 2 honey butter chicken biscuits and that was it.
Well, the thing is like, so I like outside of making some at home or like if my, my dad or grandpa is making some, when I go back up north, like I might get a fast food burger maybe once or twice a year.
Oh, wow, this is a special occasion then.
Yeah, I don't know why. I wanted a burger and it was pretty good. Like I'll tell you what, the next time I want a burger, which will probably be like September, I'll go to Whataburger because I sure as hell ain't going to McDonald's.
No, that's exciting. In the chat, Scrapyard just brought something up to keep the fast food train going. Next time y'all come down here to the Texas area, if you haven't had it before, we have to try Brahms. It's based in Oklahoma City, I think, and they have their own farms. It's like one part dairy store, the other part is like a Whataburger or a Dairy Queen or a Culver's kind of. But they have their own dairy farms across Oklahoma, I think. And so they only have built restaurants within a certain radius of Oklahoma. So literally, like Dallas is as far south as they go. I think there's one actually closer to like Waco, so like an hour or two south of Dallas. And then there's maybe, I think, some up in Kansas, but that's it. They stick to their bubble to keep a level of freshness. It's not great. I'll be honest. It's pretty good. It's like I've tried a few things on it. It's not bad. It's fast food. There's great ice cream, great dairy, but I just want to say, like, it's a very much a Oklahoma, North Texas staple that I've learned since moving here that I think you guys might enjoy. Maybe
Eric,
not you, Jarrett, because it's a greasy burger. But
you know that reminds me. Hearing you say, you mentioned Culver's. Me and Claudia, we watched a movie last night that was sponsored by Culver's. It's called Green and Gold. Actually a really good movie. It's an independent movie.
Okay.
Jarrett, sorry, it's about a Packers fan, but
I mean, the only fictional Packers fan that I enjoy is Red Foreman.
Yeah, so I will. They're saying Eric, you need to sell Brahms harder. It's not like the highest quality fast food by any means, but I'll say this: they have a Brahms sauce. It's literally cane sauce. So I got this like 4-cheese melty burger and asked for 2 sides of cane sauce. I was in heaven. I was dipping this cheesy piece of garbage in the cane sauce and it was so good.
I'm sorry.
I swear, if Eric wasn't so tall, he'd be bigger than me.
I don't eat that, but I used to eat a lot worse. This is pretty rare. Like, I'm not like Jarrett, one fast food burger a year. I'm not that devoted, but I eat a fairly balanced diet these days. But yes, when I have my cheat days, I cheat like the Astros in 2017. I am absolutely demolishing something bad.
I got to go to it first. Like, I have to say,
I am Deflategate.
You talking about this, you hyped it up. You had me on the train, and then you did it, dude. This is like me with Joey Logano out of the playoffs, where it's like I was convincing you, and then and I'm like, well, black magic that will happen and get in the way. You were convincing me, and then you go, it's really not that good, and I'm like, but you had me. You had me on the hook, and
it's not bad. I will try Brahms next time I'm in.
Yeah, see, I think Danny and Claudia, y'all would enjoy it a little bit more. I think Jarrett, I know you, depending on if you're in like getting in shape or like not, like depending on the time of year, you may or may not enjoy it.
I mean, it doesn't have tomatoes and pickles. I can give it a risk because
we have entered the Food Weekly podcast portion of the show.
Before we
get out of here,
3-hour ones in a row.
Before we get out of here, I saw something requested by some people on Twitter and in the chat. Guys, let's just go real quick. Who do we think is winning the Super Bowl? Because I'm going to Chiefs.
Chiefs. I picked. So I have an entire thread about my preseason picks I'm putting out Saturday night on Twitter, and I picked the Chiefs in the preseason, like right before the first game.
Yeah, the Chiefs probably going to win it. I kind of wish a meteor would just hit the stadium, but I'll say this: my now mother-in-law is a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. I wouldn't count her among the obnoxious ones, but because I know they get a bad rep. So part of me is rooting for the Eagles. Amelia went to Oklahoma when Jalen Hurts was there, so there's reasons for me to root for the Eagles, but I think the Chiefs are probably going to win it.
You know, the way you described Cowboys fans to me is like the polar opposite of Eagles fans. And I'll say it like this, geography wise, because I told you, like, all the Cowboys fans I knew growing up were obnoxious as hell. They were annoying, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were telling me it's like the closer you get to Dallas, like the more realistic it gets, where it's just like, yeah, we know it sucks.
Yeah.
Like Eagles fans are the opposite. They're like punching horses, cussing at old ladies, throwing frozen beer cans at kids. Every Eagles fan I've met and know, coolest freaking people. Like Raw Gator was in the chat earlier. Awesome dude. Like, yeah. It's so crazy to me. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not every single fan. I don't want a blanket statement or somebody be like, I'm not not like them. But like, it's just kind of funny. It's like the generally, like, that seems to be how it is.
Someone said
My wife's being hopeful wasn't putting an eagle emoji in the chat, but I'm just not believing it.
Jared, explain your law of averages with the Chiefs. Well, they sucked for so damn long after the 70s that now they're freaking pivoting back harder than ever.
I saw
Look
that.
at the Patriots. They're the opposite.
I saw that message and I thought, damn, how's Jarrett going to weasel his way out of this one?
Oh, man. I tell you what, in another life, I was a lawyer. Might not be a good one, but I was one. Or maybe I was like Saul Goodman.
We appreciate everyone stopping by. We appreciate Nicholas coming in and sharing his insight on us and letting us know more about how the world of NASCAR works in the partnership side of things. So hopefully you guys have left here more educated then than you are now in the Food Weekly podcast.
Yeah. And we have not had a normal episode in the first two yet, whether it be time or stuff happening. And we're not
Are
next
we
week
ever
either.
at this point? It doesn't feel like it.
Next week will probably be under 3 hours, though, since we probably won't be starting until like 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
or 10.
We're gonna be like, I want to go to bed. Let's make this fast.
I mean, we'll hit up qualifying. I mean, I'll be at no, it's Wednesday. I won't be at the track yet, so that's good. I'll be home. I'll have good internet, so we'll bang it out. We'll have lots to talk about, but it'll be very Daytona contained.
Hey, you know what? If Carson,
we're not gonna have you on a random bench again like last year.
That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, not this year. I won't be there. I'll be there Thursday. I get there. We'll also have to be quick because I have to be up at like 4 a.m. to catch my flight. So,
or we could just go long and you just you get off and you're just still
just
up.
talk to us at the airport.
But I'll say this: if Carson Hocevar's in the chat, if Carson Hocevar's in the chat again like he was last week, I'm just gonna immediately dude, you want on? I'll send you the link.
Yeah, we'll DM them the link. We should. I still love the idea of us doing a stream one day. I think I pitched this years ago. I think it'd be hilarious if we just did a random stream one night and all three of us started trying to message the most famous person we might know, and we don't know anyone, but we know some drivers. Start messaging and see who can get the most famous person to jump onto the call. Like we texting drivers.
Off-season episode.
Yeah, I'll be texting whatever drivers I know, and I just picture. So-and-so jumps in. It's like, who sent you? Who sent you? And be like, oh, Danny sent me.
Not off-season, but bye week. That seems like a bye week episode.
I don't think we'd
I could maybe get a member of the Vikings on.
Oh, that'd be pretty big. See, the best I could probably do is Carson Hocevar.
He follows a ton of people, but I think John Cena follows me. I'll just randomly send him, John, join.
I'll get Bob Pockrass on, and that'll win the whole thing.
Now I'm looking down my contacts. I'm like, who do I have on my phone?
I don't have that many. I'd have to DM people and hope for the best. But I just think it'd be funny if we just had random guests popping in and it's like, who sent you? How did you get here? I'd DM I'd send Claudia a message, but Claudia, get on.
Okay. I'll tell you guys after, but I didn't realize who I still have people's phone numbers of on my phone, both in funny meme ways, but also other people are. I'm like, damn, I didn't realize that was still there.
There was actually a trend going around where they were asking people who's the most famous person you have in your phone? That's
what I was thinking of. Was who can we get randomly to jump into this stream on a random Wednesday or Friday or whatever? I think that'd just be super funny. Who knows? It would be so off the rails.
It would. I mean, we're already off the rails. They're already now asking which people would we get? Which ones do we know? And I'm like, there's some funny
I can
memes.
Message Eric Estep and get him to join the show.
It'd be fun. It'd be funny to see though. The sad thing would be nobody would show up.
We just see Eric go, oh, hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I got invited to something. Oh, hi.
How would we even measure who's the most famous? Would we do social media following? Would we do
a poll?
Culture? Would we go? Would
they just come in and say, how famous would you say you are?
Do we go on Google Trends and see the most looked up person that we got?
No, I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny to have random people jump in the stream, and you never know. Maybe we do get maybe somebody big does hop in, and it's just whoa, didn't expect that. You just sent someone on the Vikings, a freaking NFL player just happened to come. My fear is that we do it and nobody would answer our Zoom call, or nobody would answer the message, and we'd be just sitting here by ourselves.
Just start DMing, not the current, but DM all the former presidents that have a Twitter and just say, would you join, please?
Hey, Barack, take a little time away from Jennifer Aniston for a moment. Come on the show. with us.
Okay. On that note, we need to end the show. We're getting way off the rails now.
Yeah,
All right.
we're having like a production meeting now in the final minutes of the show. You can probably cut this out of the Spotify version, Jarrett.
No, everything's staying in.
Oh,
So,
great.
you
I've
want me
heard
to
that
hit
one
this?
before.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.
Started off right, pal.
Right on, come on. Get outside. Three wide.
Unbelievable.
Green playing, we're going. I like the aggressive. Let me drop the green car. You can go to all those guys up there, they can suck it.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing? You gotta be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
It's so nice to see you for one.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Come. Coming white.
Hello. Come back, caught him.
That was incredible.